Yes.
I motion to amend the agenda to the item SUA has presented.
We have discussed that, and as a chair, I have made that designation as out of order, as the public has the right to know. We can have that conversation this Friday. We can have that conversation this Friday, and we can add it to this Friday's agenda because we have enough time. The Constitution was recently amended to make sure that we have access to letting the public know of the meetings we're about to have. We let the community know that this is the agenda we're going to discuss. If you look at the documents that were shared in the agenda, the Constitution is part of it. If you look at a transparency, the Brown Act is part of the transparency. The Brown Act requires 72 hours for us to publish an agenda. When we approve the agenda, we must make amendments that are not substantially different than what was published, as to give the public enough access to learn about what's going on. So I accept the intentions behind the amendment. You have an email you can send to the SUA president, who is a current parliamentarian, to ensure that that gets on the agenda.
Motion to declare an emergency under the Brown Act.
You cannot end the Brown Act just because you want to. It's law.
The Brown Act permits emergency.
So what we're going to do is either call for a meeting for the approval of the agenda that is in line with the Brown Act, which means that it has to be similar in time, in content, and intention. We cannot simply tell the public that this public body is going to discuss something that we're never noticed about. Right now, we are discussing the approval of the agenda, and the amendment was out of order. So, is there a motion? Is there a motion to approve the agenda? Well, it's within our Constitution, which is it's within our Constitution. If you look at the Constitution, it is within the Constitution, and I will not continue to accept any more amendments that are in contrary to open public meeting laws. This is the agenda that was sent, so now either approve it or deny it, and you can amend to take away, to change the times. Is there any other members of this body that like to move to approve so we can continue the discussion, and then we can work collectively on the agenda for Friday? Vice President of Student Life?
Point of information. I'm reading from the Brown Act right now. Notwithstanding subdivision A, the legislative body may take action on items of business not appearing in the posted agenda under any of the provisions stated below, upon a determination by majority vote of the legislative body that an emergency situation exists, which is what Dora was trying to do. Upon a determination by a 2/3 vote of the members of the legislative body present at the meeting, or if the item was posted pursuant to subdivision A for a prior meeting of the legislative body. So we can add.
As a chair,
Not against the
as
Brown
a chair,
Act. It is not.
I have the presiding officer duties to ensure that the public understands that we must have access to sending this information 3 days in advance, so the public understands that we're having a public meeting.
I motion to override the presiding officer's decision. Do I have a second?
Unfortunately, that is not in order.
Can I put my phone? It's recording.
So the Presley parliamentarian. So now we're in debate.
Over the motion to override your.
So we are in. Your motion is out of order. Please sit down, or please do not interrupt the chair one more time. At the beginning of this meeting, I explained that the chair is the one that calls on people to speak. I have done that, and now the representative, excuse me, the representative from Kresge made
Excuse me, you said earlier that it was a tie, so you were going to talk about it later, so I don't think he's considering Representative Cruz.
We are speaking, Kresge was appointed, I'm sorry, Rachel Carson, representative. I misspoke. Rachel Carson, representative, moved to approve the agenda. Can I get a second? Is there anyone in this meeting that would like to second this motion? As the president of this body, I second. Or the vice president, like to second. It's seconded by the vice president. It's seconded by the vice president of Equity and Diversity. We have a motion on the table. Excuse me, I'm going to repeat the motion and then you can object. The motion on the table is moved by the Rachel Carson, appointed representative, seconded by the vice president to approve the agenda.
And there's an objection.
And there's an objection. What is your objection?
My objection is there are some emergency items that we need to add to our agenda tonight, to discuss tonight, while all of these community members have come here to voice their opinions. We need to have that community discussion to talk about the comments that were made. And we need to have a
Those are actually on the agenda, so we're going to have that on the agenda.
No, they're not. We want to hear.
I think those conversations are going to be addressed within the resolutions that are on the agenda. And the motion is to continue with the approval of the agenda, seconded by the,
There's an objection, it has to go into discussion, and then we all have to make a vote. You need to tally all of the members' votes.
Seconded.
In order for it to go with parliamentary procedure.
Seconded by the
in order
vice
for it to be
president.
in order.
So-
Otherwise, this motion would be out of order.
we're going to now go into debate into whether we should continue with the approval of the agenda. I am going to read the agenda to see what we're going to be approving or denying. We have some announcements and public comments. There's bargaining units and SUA solidarity. There's unions that are about to go on strike that have asked to speak on this meeting or have shown interest in the SUA getting involved in their bargaining issues. We have student concern and advocacy, so you'll have time if you're a student here with any concerns and like to advocate for them. You can in fact make a public comment. Then we have a resolution denouncing hate acts targeted at the Mexican students and the community on campus that we've all learned about via the chancellor's email. Then we have a resolution affirming Black and Brown Indigenous identities, where we'll talk about a lot of the comments that were made. Then, as we all know, there are students in Iran, young people, that are making sure their voices are heard. The Iranian Student Union has sent us a statement for us to read and either approve or deny our solidarity. And then we'll have a YSUA orientation activity. We'll have an SUA budget overview that the prospective treasurer is going to present. We'll have a presentation and a breakout activity. We'll have a closing remarks and adjournment. Then we'll have our next meeting, a discussion, which is scheduled for this Friday at 5:30 p.m. And we just confirmed this location for Friday. In that meeting, when we get to that item, we'll share the agenda on how we will get to fill all the assembly seats. There's 43 people that make the assembly. Not even half of them have been selected. So everyone has been showing interest in how that's going to go about. We have to get through the agenda in order for us to conduct meetings. So considering that we have Iranian students, we have indigenous students, we have Mexican students, we have all students here who are sharing their advocacy, I'd encourage you to approve the agenda so we can go. And with due time, we can create an agenda for Friday that ensures we have more seats at the table to continue conducting SUA business. With that said, we're going to go into any comments for the approval of the agenda. Is there anyone in this room, and this is open to anyone, this is not only open to people that can vote, is there anyone in this room that would like to speak on behalf of going through with the agenda? to make sure we go with this meeting?
Public comments?
Yes.
I would like to make one.
Go ahead.
Announcements. Good evening. My name is Miguel Salcedo, and I'm the SUA Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion. I'm a Mexican immigrant, an EOP student, a first-generation college student, and a resident here at Oaks. And there are a lot of folks like me here at Oaks. BIPOC, Latine, EOP, first gen. Can I get a raise of hands of people who are from Oaks? Now, my Oaks family, unlike those who live or have lived elsewhere, are well aware of the lack of equity that there is on campus. Given our demographics, why are resources not closer to us? Given that we pay the same tuition that we all pay, why do we get the ugly end of the stick? Cowell and Stevenson, by far, are one of the least diverse colleges on campus. They get the privilege of having Opers. They get the privilege of having Cowell Coffee Shop where free food is provided. Yeah, coffee, small burritos, frittata, you name it. Why do we have to travel to the east side for class, to go to the health center, to go to Opers, to even eat? This place is the community-based college on campus. It is where students, particularly BIPOC folks, are most likely to feel comfortable. This meeting has been made the most accessible to the college that has the least accessibility to resources, so it makes sense that we have it here. And this is a response to sentiment regarding the meeting being here. Before, the meeting was held in front of a Becher bookstore, or on top of a Becher bookstore, in the center of campus. That is not the center of campus. That's the center to Cowell, that's the center to Stevenson, that's the center to 9, 10, that's the center to Crown Merrill. What about Oaks? What about Richard Carson? What about Porter? Now you see how we feel as Oaks, how we feel every day that we have to go all the way across campus to do whatever we need to do. Thank you for your patience.
All the comments for approving the agenda to have the meeting. Is there anyone opposed to having this meeting and going on with the agenda as stated?
Once, because we had the objection, we're now in discussion, and then once discussion is done, we go into a vote of the assembly members.
So,
According to parliamentary.
does anyone have any comments against conducting the meeting? In conducting the meeting with the current agenda as stated? Amanda?
So maybe you folks mind when you have a comment, come and speak it over there.
There we go.
Hello, everybody. My name is Amanda. I used to be the parliamentarian of this space. If you're not sure with what a parliamentarian is, they chair the space. The Constitution, the bylaws, all of the things that run it and make it go smoothly and keep all of this from happening. All I'm going to say is that so far there's been a blatant disregard of Robert's rules, of the Constitution, of the bylaws, and now the law, that being Brown Act. So the reason why these agenda items need to happen is to address these issues. I understand there's a lot of people here who may not know exactly what's happening, what's going on. I assure you, just be patient, let us say what we have to say, and
I'll put the next comment and then we'll charge our computer. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak on for the approval of the agenda as we have it? You heard it. Students that want to speak up on the issues that are going on around the world on campus. Is there anyone that wants to speak for having the meeting here and approval of the agenda as it is written?
I feel like the topics that they want to discuss are already in the agenda, so we should go forward with the agenda that is already approved. that's about to be approved. And I don't think it's very transparent of people to try to remove the president without everyone knowing. I feel like if everyone knew that people were trying to remove the president here at the meeting, everyone would come. That's not very
Jimmy, you are out of order. Jimmy, you are out of order. Jimmy, you are out of order.
What you want to discuss is already in the agenda.
Jimmy, keep talking. Jimmy, keep talking.
So we have a comment for continuing the meeting with the agenda as stated. Is there a comment against? And remember that we all have disagreements. We're all making our points. I am going to now open it up for anyone that would like to speak against. And make sure when this person is speaking, if you're for, just remain respectful of their views. Dora, go ahead.
And people have been taking about 2 minutes to make the comments. We'll entertain more and then we'll go to a vote.
I think that it's already been made clear why we need to add the agenda items, but I will just respond to what Vice President Miguel said. Even though we may have some sort of discussion items in the agenda, there is certainly not enough time to discuss specifically the actions that have occurred in the past couple weeks. There's not nearly enough time for public comment or discussion in the actual discussion section, and there certainly isn't an item to vote to remove the president. That's why I think that we definitely need to amend the agenda.
Thank you so much for that. I think this is a very important discussion, so as the chair, I'm going to give it a few more minutes for people who are in this meeting. And this conversation right now is for every student to come speak for or against whether we want to continue with the agenda or not. So we heard someone that spoke against approving the agenda as it is stated. Is there anyone else in this room that'd like to speak for continuing this meeting with the agenda as stated? The RCC appointed representative.
Hi, so this isn't actually about what Pedro just said. It's actually, I wanted to acknowledge that most people, when they got here, they probably realized that there's a pig outside, and as for some of us, we're not the most comfortable with that. I'm sure a lot of you are more comfortable with that. Some of us aren't from this country, some of us are immigrants. I've never seen a police car outside of the Bay Street bookstore when there's SUA there. But now that we have this, we can already tell that this meeting is already based on race.
That comment was the opportunity for people to speak for us to have this meeting. So is there anyone else that'd like to speak against us having this meeting with the agenda that we stated at the beginning? Is there anyone that'd like to speak against having the meeting here with the agenda that we stated? The Vice President of External Affairs, please, you have 2 minutes.
So there's a lot that we want to say, or at least as people of the body. I think a lot of vice presidents and also officers of SUA and also at like the different colleges want to bring a lot of voices to this table. And we want to do that by motioning to change the agenda so that we can have a larger discussion. Unfortunately, public comments are just not going to cut it for just like 10 minutes. Also one-sided, we need to have a discussion, and also we need to discuss what's been going on with the campus climate. I think everyone has something they want to say, including me, that I want to get into, but I know the public comment can't get into it. What I can say is that clearly there's a power balance in the room, and Alfredo, like, you have to remember that you are the president of UCSC and you're elected by the people, and you need to remember that when you're being the parliamentarian. You need to talk to us, you need to be a community member. And I don't think you're being a community member right now. You're discussing with us. We're trying to have a community-centered space, and I remember I've been here for the past 3 years, and I know that we've been trying to make a lot of progress with having SUA's more inclusive space. And we're doing it, and right now, as of today, I'm seeing that go back to zero like immediately. So we need to have time to discuss what the campus climate is, okay? We have to have room, and we need to not be dictating what other people are saying and allow room to discuss. And I would love to hear people that have been at the different colleges in their own experiences. I know the officers have stuff we want to say. I put stuff in the chat that has some of the things that we want to discuss today, but we need to get there. So I would really, really, really appreciate if we can motion to amend the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I love the passion we're all bringing to this meeting. I've never gone to an SUA meeting as large as this. Thank you so much for your public comments. Is there anyone else? That was someone that spoke against the approval of the agenda. Now we want to give space for someone to speak for the approval of the agenda as it's stated. Josh?
Hi everyone, my name is Josh. I'm a Santa Monica local, transferred from Santa Monica College. I'm a fourth-year transfer student, and I am very new to the SUA. I was just appointed last week. I tried to get as much information as I could in this past week, looking through the Constitution and the bylaws. I'm somewhat familiar because I was part of the SSCCC, which is the Student Center for California Community Colleges. From what I'm interpreting, and I'm just saying from my perspective, you can have your own opinion on this, of course. From my perspective, I see that we can move forward with today's agenda, and whatever wants to be added or talked about could be held towards next week, because the 1 week is really a big deal, in my opinion. Friday, it's even sooner. So, in my opinion, I just don't think that's really a big deal. It's just a couple days. Instead of just holding and making an argument, we can move forward and try to figure out, like, my thing is to progress. One of my main mentor, who's currently the city clerk of Hawthorne, I actually met him at SMC. He has a doctorate from USC in academic leadership, and he's always taught me this one thing. It's to always move forward and don't get stalled up in one thing, even if you don't entirely agree with it. My legs are shaking because I'm up here for so long. And I used to speak in front of people, but it's been a while. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna cut it off right now. But one thing that he taught me is the important thing is to always move forward and make sure you're doing something that's productive. Because when you stop and you argue and you stall, you're not going anywhere with it. So we should just hold it for next. Just continue on with my mind, because I hear that we are going to talk about some of the things that they want to talk about.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that comment, Dan. Again, I respect everyone. Let everyone speak and let everyone finish. We're gonna take a few more comments. It seems like the approval of the agenda is contentious. We're gonna keep having this conversation. Just to remind folks of what we're voting on. We're voting on the approval of the agenda, which is announcements and public comments, bargaining units. Those are the unions that are working hard for our university and how we can stand in solidarity. There's space, if we approve the agenda, for all the students here to speak on their concerns and advocacy that they stand for. There's a resolution denouncing hate acts targeted at Mexican students and community here at Oaks College and Rachel Carson. We have a resolution affirming Black and Brown Indigenous identities. The Iranian student union sent us a statement earlier affirming solidarity with Iranian youth. Then we'll have a conversation about why SUA. There's a lot of you here, so we have to talk about that. We have treasurer, prospective treasurer, budget overview. A lot of the officers that are here, Amalia, everyone, Mitra, have spoken to me about the request for their budget. It is here, so we're also going to talk about that. We'll have a presentation, a breakout activity. Then we'll have a closing remarks and adjournment, which we'll talk about the next meeting, which will be here, and we'll go over the agenda for that meeting, which includes appointing a parliamentarian, appointing the 20 plus members of the assembly that are yet to be appointed, and then we'll talk about a recurring meeting time and location. So that is what we're talking about here. We just have someone speak forward. Is there anyone else? Is there anyone that'd like to speak against the approval of the agenda as stated? Anyone against? Ms. Bush, go ahead.
Hi everyone. My name is Romina. I'm a Crown elected rep. I've been a part of student government bodies and the SUA since my freshman year. And in that entire time, I have never seen a crowd this large show up to one of our meetings. And we should not waste this opportunity when there are so many people who have showed up to speak out. We need to have these items on the agenda. We need a full-on discussion with the people who are here. This is a really good opportunity for us to hear what students are thinking about campus climate. And with that, I motion to close staff on this item and move into a vote.
Thank you for that comment, for your time and patience. Do we have anyone that'd like to speak for this item to continue with the approval of the agenda as stated?
Point of procedure, there's a motion on the table.
So, seeing that there is none students you'd like to speak on for, go ahead. Yeah, come here. Yeah.
Point of parliamentary procedure.
You're out of order.
No, I'm point of
You're out of order. Right now we're in a discussion. You're out of order. We have a discussion right now. We have a chair. We are in a discussion for the approval. We're gonna go into discussion for the approval, whether for or against. Calm. Go ahead. You have 2 minutes.
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's so cool to see so many people in the SUA space. It's important to be involved, like civically engaged, and that's what this space is for. It's for learning how to use your voice. Oh, up. Closer? Louder. Got you. All right. Sorry. I used to be in the SUA before Amanda. I was a parliamentarian. I left because you get why I fucking left. Let's be real with each other. No. Let's be real with each other right now. Please, we need to be real with each other. There's a lot of problems with the SUA. Obviously, it makes me sad that people don't feel heard, and that's a problem. Like if people don't feel heard, that's a real problem. But also, I hear Alfredo. I hear his voice. He's an important voice on campus. And he's somebody who I feel like, needs to be listened, to when he's talking as the chair. I do understand that, as a parliamentarian, some time ago, if I can't speak, then the meeting can't go and the meeting can't run, and then nothing will get done. So I hear progress, and I heard the SSCCC was mentioned. That's awesome. Student Senate for California Community Colleges. I was on the board for a while, and then I was a member of the Board of Governors for the California Community College system, and I did a lot of work in higher education policy. That's an appointed position by Governor Newsom. And you work with students, and you mobilize students, and you learn about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and what I see tonight is not that. I gotta be honest. So this whole time I've been talking, what I haven't told you is I have a spirit like my man Alfredo, and that when I feel it's the right thing to do, I break the rules. I'm actually against. I think that this meeting should definitely not continue until these people in the room have their voice heard on an amendment. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that public comment on this discussion. I think we've heard enough about for and against whether you want to approve or not approve the agenda. Do we have any seeing that was the discussion, we're now going to move it to a roll call vote on whether we vote to approve or not this agenda. Zion, is that the correct?
Okay, so since there is already a motion on the table, I haven't been keeping track of what the motions are, but that motion first needs to be addressed before a motion to approve or disapprove the agenda.
Correct. So what was the motion on the table you got?
The motion was to close stack and move into a vote.
So the motion is to close stack, the speakers list,
Yes.
and move it to a vote. Are there any objections to that? Any seconds?
It was seconded.
Seconded by who?
Daniel.
Seconded by Daniel. So we're gonna now vote to close stack to then move into a vote. Can we do roll call? Chief of Staff, do you have access
Point
to?
of inquiry?
Yes.
What are we voting on?
We are voting on closing the stack, the speakers list, on the approval of the agenda debate. That is a motion, correct?
We're voting on closing stack and then moving into a vote on approving the agenda.
Okay, so we called the question. Okay.
Yeah, call the question.
Calling the question will be the vote.
Yeah.
I think it needs like two different votes. Okay.
So we're now gonna move into voting procedure to close the discussion, the stack, on the approval of the agenda. Now we're going to go with the president. As a parliamentarian, I will not vote. Vice President, Zion, can you keep track of these votes? Vice President of Internal Affairs, what is your vote?
Point of information, this is a vote to close the stack.
Correct.
I don't know if we need to do that.
That was the motion made on the floor.
I withdraw my second. Yeah, I withdraw the motion.
So the motion was withdrawn, and the second was withdrawn. Therefore, we're going to move to vote on whether we go forward with this meeting as stated on the agenda, or any other motions on the table. Having that said, we're going to do a roll call vote of the voting members of the assembly.
So we do have a roll. I'm finalizing, just writing out all the names onto the roll, but
Yes.
we definitely have quorum. We have around 15, if not more, which would fulfill the requirement. I think as a point of Robert's rules, when people, when we have a vote, it can just be like people raise their hands and they don't have to have the roll taken. At least that's how we do it in Powell Senate. They don't have to have like the name recorded as long as we know that the people who are voting are verified and able to actually vote in this motion.
Cool. So then, having that said, we're going to ask that if you're a voting member only, to vote on this motion to on the approval of the agenda that was made originally by RCC representative and seconded by the vice president. So the motion on the table was moved by the RCC representative, seconded by the vice president of Equity and Diversity, to go forward with the agenda. Now we're going to go into a vote. If you are in favor of moving forward with the agenda and have voting power, voting rights, please raise your hand. If you are in favor with moving forward, if you are in favor of moving forward with the agenda and have access to voting, we have vice presidents of diversity, we have the Oaks representative, we have the RCC representative. Anyone opposed? Raise your hand. It looks like the nays have it. The agenda has not been approved. Is there anyone else? Is there any other motions on the table that we'd like to make?
Yes, my motion to amend the agenda is still on the table. In fact, we should have done it first.
We will not address a motion that is out of order to amend agenda that substantially changes the content of it. We, as a chair, I addressed it, and we can perhaps have that conversation on how to set the agenda for Friday's meeting. Is there a different motion on the Daniel?
Yeah, I would like the motion under the bylaws. Sorry, it's section C 18, appeal of presiding officer decisions. We can you as the presiding officer are able to make decisions on how you interpret parliamentary procedure. We as the assembly are able to make a motion when seconded by some majority vote to override your decision. So I am trying to so this is asking that we override your decision, and that is not allowed, allowing that motion to be made. So I'm making that motion.
And I second it.
Motion is out of order.
You're out of order.
And
out of order though.
If you're going to, it seems like you're saying you're going to motion to change the agenda with. Are you saying you're going to? I need to clarify your motion. Your motion, as I understand it, is to override the chair's decision to amend the agenda. Admitting that motion is out of order as the agenda was published.
I motion to call for the question so we can vote on it. Is Zion willing to count the vote?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, we'll count the vote then.
I can't believe it.
So, I'm kind of confused, but let me just ask. So we have, what was the first motion? Was to amend the agenda.
Yes.
And so.
The second motion was.
We have a seconded.
Override.
Right. Yeah, basically the section 18, C18 of the bylaw says, appeal of presiding officer decisions, procedure, an appeal can be made by any UCSC student. The appeal takes precedence over any question pending at the time. The presiding officer makes a ruling from which the appeal is made. The appeal must be seconded. The appeal is debatable. The appeal can be made at any time from when the ruling of the presiding officer was implemented. So you don't even have to be called on to make this motion.
Daniel, can you get the mic too?
May I have the microphone? Which motion?
Wait. I call this meeting to order. Can we have the quorum in this room? Can we have the quorum in the room?
Give him the mic.
Bro, he like.
I have the floor. I'm calling because we are dealing with a constitutional issue, which is the Brown Act, and the agenda. The Constitution overrides the bylaws. The Constitution, the Brown Act, so we have Daniel, who just stated the Brown Act is in the Constitution.
In that case, I motion to declare an emergency under the Brown Act.
The Brown Act allows emergency declaration allows you to have an agenda without notice.
So an emergency, we are out of order with the motion. Are there any other motions?
I was gonna say honestly.
Yeah, that's what he's doing.
Yeah.
I forgot the word. You are interpreting the constitutional bylaws of your interpretation. I'm not debating the Brown Act itself. I am debating. This is overriding your interpretation.
Yeah, we have this room until 9. And
nah, he filibustering, bro.
Yeah, but I'm making that motion. And that motion was seconded.
So Zion, the motion on the table.
So according to Robert's rules, according to the bylaws of the Constitution, there should be a vote right now of all the people who are in favor of this motion to override the acting parliamentarian's interpretation of the bylaws. And yes, so.
Wait, as the chair of this meeting, I override. Yeah.
You can't do that.
You know, we have.
If you vote to override his decision.
I'm counting because that's how Robert's rules work, so I have to.
I swear to God.
So I'm calling this vote out of order, as there are members of the public who are raising their hand that are not voting members.
Those members aren't being counted.
Yeah, Zion.
So,
It makes it easier for you.
Zion, I'm asking you to please not count these votes. I'm not asking.
Oh, stop.
Stop the steal. Stop the count.
Yo, I'll call this meeting to recess right now until we are back. Please, 5-minute recess. We have a 5-minute recess.
Is he not filibustering? Is he not filibustering?
There's a lot of students here
Oh, yeah, you got it.
that would like to continue with the meeting. So,
Chris.
Right.
Is he not filibustering?
Garrett.
Is he not
Garrett,
filibustering,
can
bro?
council send me a memo? Right.
Like, nah.
Everyone, please be quiet.
Garrett, you're out of order.
Fucking God, bro. I've never seen some shit like this live.
I'm trying to make sure the meeting happens. I'm asking, well, this meeting is now at recess for 5 minutes, so
This ain't elementary school. I don't need no recess. I'm here to talk.
people are speaking over the chair. You are out of order, Amanda. You are out of order. We are in recess now. We are in recess right now.
Fuck, we need a recess.
The chair.
Playtime? I didn't come to play.
This room has become unruly. And now that we're in recess, I've declared a recess due to the lack of the quorum. When there is a lack of decorum and the chair is being overtalked, as it is being right now,
You know about like the Constitution.
you are out of order.
Sometimes the representatives can like override his comments if he's being out of pocket, which he is. And he's just keep saying.
We still want to address everything in the agenda. We just want to add something.
We're going to continue. It's been 5 minutes. If we continue.
5 minutes, Mr. Timer.
Well, it's actually 1 minute to the 5 minutes. We need to respect the chair, and we're making sure that everyone that spoke here had the chance to speak. Now, we are now entertaining motions that will be in line with open meeting laws. When I checked with council, the SUA in fact has to follow the Brown Act. It is my understanding that the agenda has to be published within 72 hours, at least, of a meeting. This agenda was sent to the public, everyone that is here, in their emails last week. Now, in order for us to have a different agenda that is substantially different than this one, we must discuss it and publish it at least 72 hours. So, are there any other motions on the table? Miguelito, Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion.
Motion to make an amendment to the agenda to talk about the controversial comments that the president has made.
Any seconds?
Second.
So there is a motion on the table to talk about the controversial statements the president has made. All in favor, say aye.
Point of information, is this going to be, how long is it? What's the details of the
Well, the motion was to talk about the controversial statements the president made, and it was seconded by who seconded this? Would anyone like to second this? Seconded by?
Melanie, the mayoral rep.
Okay, so the motion, the Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion moved to talk about the controversial statements the president has made, and it was seconded by Meryl's rep. Now, is there any debate, any deliberation on this motion? Would anyone like to speak for speaking on this? And I'll do 2 for and 2 against so we can actually get to the conversation. What is your question?
So, is this agenda item going to be added as the first agenda item we're covering? And how long is that unallocated for the agenda item?
So, are you asking for a friendly amendment to that?
I'm asking for Miguel, how long is, what is the details of the agenda item? Is it going to be first next thing on the agenda now? Is we going to do that right after this? And how long is it going to be? I just want to know.
This discussion is going to be after 8:45, after the presentation on the SUA budget.
No.
No.
Miguel, I don't believe that. I think they will wait all night.
Yeah, we're not.
With all due respect.
Information on the SUA budget is important.
Okay, we're going to address the issue. You're Vice President Diversity Inclusion. You didn't say anything about the institution is going to be disrespected on this campus.
Jimmy, you are out of order. The motion on the table is to discuss the controversial statements that the president has made. It has been seconded. It has been seconded for 1 hour. It has been seconded by the mayoral rep. Now, yes. Yeah. Because I've been threatened to take the mic, I will hold the mic. Go ahead.
I just want to add that along with the AIRC comments, which we should spend as much time as we want with that because it's extremely significant, I also want to add that there are other things that we want to mention in regard to Alfredo and also any action towards the end. So just keep that into consideration. We need to talk about this, but we also, this is a lot. I want to give the space for them.
Thank you so much for that comment. Are there any other comments against discussing the president's comments?
I have a question. Why are you allowing the addition of this agenda item, but not the ones they were trying to propose?
Well, because it's aligned to what is already on the agenda.
How is this? How do you don't know what they were trying to propose?
Well, they mentioned it, they read it, and it's substantially different than what is on the agenda. And in order for us to continue, council may run the university. This is student government. In the last election, the student body voted for the president. So right now, thank you for your guidance and advice. It is considered. Now that we have a motion on the table, the motion was to discuss the president's controversial comments. It was seconded by Meryl. We had someone speak for. Is there anyone that would like to speak against speaking? And you can speak from where you're at. There's a different mic over here. So you have 2 minutes. The mic has been turned on, yes.
Does this mic work?
Yes.
I just want to point out that this motion comes like an hour in the future. We don't need to discuss the budget first. We very much need to discuss this first. And with that, I am calling the question. We can vote on it now and move past it.
Second, okay, so the motion on the table right now is to call this discussion into question, which means to end it and go into the vote. All in favor of going into the discussion of the president's controversial comments?
Question, we just have to vote on.
Anybody objection on the question, so you can do it by.
Someone object? Okay, so we're just voting on whether we're going to accept that amendment.
We're going to now vote on the amendment proposed by the Vice President to discuss the comments of the President after the budget for an hour. All in favor say aye. Or as you were, if you vote for the amendment, please vote now if you're for it. If you want to address the controversial president's, if you want to amend the agenda to address the controversial comments of the President, vote. So you are voting to address the controversial comments of the President. All in favor say aye or vote, raise your hand. 1, 2. Great. Seeing that there's 2 votes, is there anyone opposed to discussing the controversial comments made by the President? Great.
Point of, just to clarify, this is specifically after the budget.
Okay, so is there a friendly amendment to this?
Well, can we amend this or do this first thing? If you amend it, can we amend this, do it right now before anything else? Are you willing to accept that amendment?
It's gonna happen.
Because you came here just to.
You been filibustering?
The budget is important. That budget is
So can we compromise and speak about the President's comments and then go right into the budget?
Yo, like he been like filibustering for like an hour. We want to talk about this before. We don't want to talk about the other things first. And then all of a sudden it gets to be like 9 p.m. and we're like, oh, sorry, you gotta go. It's over.
It looks like we want to have the President's controversial comments made at made first,
Hey,
and
bro, we're
then.
here to listen to like actual issues being discussed and addressed. Bro. It's almost 9. We have
Okay, so the motion has been withdrawn.
motion to address the president's controversial comments, issues, anything to that sort, before budget time.
So
Before at 8 p.m., from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Sorry, from 8:40 to 9:40 p.m.
Okay. So first thing on the agenda after public comment?
Yes.
Great. So the first thing on the agenda after public comment are the President's controversial remarks. Can I get a second for that? Seconded by Merrill. Great. Real quick, we talked about this before. We'll do 2 for and 2 against. Is there anyone that'd like to speak for this? And you can do it from that mic, or you can do it from where you're at. Just speak up. Go ahead.
A media file to the agenda item, like a PDF.
Your question was again repeated.
Okay.
Great. So the point of inquiry has been withdrawn. The motion on the table is by the Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion, which is to amend the agenda to go forward with an amendment to speak about the President's controversial comments after the public comment section of the agenda, correct? Seconded by Merrill. And now we're going to go into deliberation and a discussion for. Anyone like to speak for that motion? And considering the point of information, is there any opposition? So that there's no opposition, we're going to go with the agenda as amended. And all in favor for the motion, say aye. Great, thank you so much. So this is how. this is how we can collaborate. So, now that the agenda has been amended, Zion, did you notice that amendment, please, on the agenda?
Motion to further amend the
Okay, so we have the agenda now with announcements and public comments. Then we'll have the next item on it to be addressing the controversial comments. Because that is being addressed on the agenda, it is not a substantial difference that what was given to the public. Since the president's controversial comments have to do regarding affirming Black and Brown Indigenous identity. So, are there any amendments to the agenda? Vice President of Academic Affairs, go ahead.
I just want to be clear, we have a presentation, we have a collection of documents, we just want to be able to have the space to give that presentation and have a community discussion. I imagine you're not willing to give up the space to do that if Miguel's agenda item on that. So I am motioning to add that.
So, it's been motioned to add a presentation to that agenda item?
Wait, so when are we going to talk about it?
Seconded by the, okay. So you'd like to first have the agenda item that the Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion made, and then go into a presentation regarding what?
public discussion of the comments that were made.
A public discussion
And then
of,
after our presentation. It's a short presentation.
so you want a presentation on the controversial comments that were made?
And so on. Yeah.
Okay, so that is in order as it is part of the amendment?
After public comments, so people
We had just voted to amend the agenda to let the Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion to move it to after public comments, or do you want to do that after the Vice President?
It's amending Miguel's motion, so it's part of it, would be part of the same thing.
So, the motion on the table is to amend the agenda once again to basically replace the Vice President of Inclusion and Diversity.
I'm not trying to replace anyone's agenda items, I think we just have a presentation prepared, we have a discussion prepared. Public
Okay, so we have a motion by the Vice President of Academic Affairs to ensure we add a presentation and a discussion to the item under the President's remarks. Is that correct? Dora? The motion is to include the presentation and discussion you want to have under the Vice President's Okay, so the motion is to add after the President's item, the Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion item, a presentation and a discussion about the President's remark.
I want to specify that it's more general than.
There's one over there.
The motion is to add a presentation that is more general than specifically your remarks on the AIRC post. It's sufficiently different that I think it should be another agenda item. And I'm not trying to change Vice President Miguel's agenda item. I'm just trying to add an additional one.
Use the mic, everybody, when you talk. Everyone online is having trouble hearing you.
And I'd like to specify that this is an action item.
Okay, because it is an action item and it is substantially different than the agenda, it is out of order. We have to make sure that every document, there's 20,000 students on this campus, and if we're looking to make a decision on behalf of this body, all 20,000 students have to be notified of substantially different things on the agenda. The SUA holds itself to the Brown Act, and it is my duty to make sure that every single student as the presiding chair and president and parliamentarian of this body, that the laws of access and open meeting laws are respected, as people have stated. This is one of the biggest meetings we've had, and we want to make sure that the conversation keeps expanding. So, having that said, we're going to then move on to announcements and public comments to then have the amended discussion we've approved through Miguel's amendments. So, as we were talking, we now have amended the agenda as discussed by the Vice President. And the first thing we're going to do is, Zion, that should go after the, it says after announcement, after public comment, before YSUA.
That's it. These kids are having fun.
So, are there any bargaining units and SUA that are looking for SUA solidarity? I invited the grad students. Is there any grad student here that would like to speak on their efforts in collective bargaining? This is announcements and public comments, so I'm going to go through the announcements, and then we're going to go through the public comments.
Point of parliamentary procedure, we amended the agenda, but we did not approve the amended agenda.
Oh my
The agenda was approved through the amendment. Therefore, we're going to continue. We talked about. Well, does anyone object to the approval of the agenda? So.
I'm sorry, give me a minute. Okay, so I'm trying to add the few items onto the agenda. I'm unclear on what exactly we are.
So, there was a point of information. We amended the agenda. Now, can I entertain a motion to approve the agenda? It was moved by Bush, any seconds? Seconded by the Vice President of External Affairs. Student Life, sorry. Student Life. Any objections? Any objections? Anyone opposed? Seeing that there's no opposition, the agenda passes with the amendment that was made by the Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion. So we have, the amendment was after public comments, so I am going to add it right here. Garrett, can you text the folks who run this meeting that we're gonna go past this room, that we're gonna go past 9:15, please?
Bro, I just started doing the homework.
Cool. So we have amended the agenda as amended by the Vice President. We have now a meeting that is set to schedule. So please, thank you for your patience. As we're going with the agenda. It seems like there's no bargaining units. Is there any member of a unit, bargaining union in this meeting that'd like to speak on how the SUA can show solidarity? Whether you're a city worker, a maintenance worker, a graduate student worker. Great. So now we're gonna have some time for student concerns and advocacy. I am going to give it 10 minutes. We have a lot of things, and then after that, we're going to have more public comment. So this is just one. We're going to have many more. So this is an announcement, and we're going to have time for public comment. So we're going to have 2 minutes per speaker to give the amount of time everyone deserves. It's been working out so far. So we're going to make a stack, and the chief of staff is going to support in making sure that everyone's voice gets heard. So we're going to go for 10 minutes, so we'll have 5 speakers, and then we'll move on to the next agenda item, to the next resolution, denouncing hate acts targeted at Mexican students, community, and so on. Is there anyone that has this concern or anything that advocate would like to speak? Dale, go ahead.
Hello, how's everyone doing? I wasn't gonna speak today. I kind of just came in here to feel community and hear everyone out and process what's going on. But my tío called me and he said, "Hey, mijo," I was like, "What you up to?" And I said, "Well, I'm just at this event. We're having some inter-community conflict and we're trying to seek resolution, right?" So he just got back from an elementary school, and he was there putting on programs to reaffirm Indigenous identity, and he was talking about all these kids are playing the drum and they're doing all these things. Oh, is that the project more?
Yeah.
All right, okay. So I felt like he was like, go ahead and talk. I think you should have your voice be heard. So yeah, I will not comment on my opinion of Alfredo's removal at this time, but I will say that his comments, as well as intentioned as they were, denied people their Indigenous identity. And I will say that, I think that Alfredo thinks, he was wrong in the community division that he created. And I think that that is an Indigenous discussion to be had. I think that there's room for healing to be had. You can call out a lack of diversity in our space. These are fair items, but denying someone their identity is something that needs to be held accountable for. So, who here identifies as Indigenous? Right. Is there any Latino or Mexican people? So our communities, right, as intersected as they are, and there's a lot of overlapping, right? A lot. When I say that. Our communities are in pain right now because of a flag that was burned, and that was symbolic of something, right? 10 more seconds, okay. And I just want to extend an invitation to everyone who, on either side of this political agenda, to have the room. I'd like to personally invite my brother here to come to our events. I think we need to have solidarity amongst Indigenous people, and that's what I want to advocate for. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dale. I know the great work you do uplifting all Indigenous peoples, and thank you for your comment. Do we have any other student concerns and advocacy? And this is a public comment space. If you can speak about any controversy that you see on campus, this is a space for that. Jesus, go ahead. And if you want to line up right here, or not line up, but give your name to Zion to call up on you, that'd be helpful. Jesus, you have 2 minutes. So I'm going to kind of raise my hand when you have 30 seconds so you can see me, if you want to be respectful of everyone's time. Jesus, go ahead.
I'm just here to speak on behalf of almost all students who don't know what's going on, who aren't aware about their situation right now, who really are just, you and I doing what we can to get out of here, right? So I'm trying to figure out what's going on with the money, the resources, and how everybody can benefit at the end of the day. I understand the circumstances right now and the controversy and whatnot. It may be a step back, or maybe a step forward in some senses, but I want to figure out what the plan is for the budget and what really impacts the students. I think that giving attention to this topic right now is delaying other topics of conversation. I know that here right now, this place has been well or so gatekept from other students, in majority, for the inability to find resources or allocating any of those resources to students from your behalf. I don't know what you have done specifically since last year, or what your predecessors did, but I know that I missed out on a lot of opportunities, a lot of resources that I could have found as a person of color, as well as many other people that didn't know what was going on because they were too busy working in 2020, and they were going to hold off, until next year to come to university. And a lot of those people were people of color. So now that we have a large influx of a lot of freshmen and a lot of people that are transfers that are people of color, we desperately need to do something to help them. And one of the main things I've heard throughout every program, throughout every single instance of money this, money that, is that they don't have it. The resources that and the centers that are allocated in each college don't know who to ask for funds. They're like DCR right now, or CAPS. One of the main concerning issues for everybody, not even people of color, is mental health. What are you doing for them? What are you going to do for them, especially the large influx of minorities, people of color, people, international students, people that have different cultures and different ideas and perceptions of everyday life here. It's something new, you gotta adjust, but it's something also that you're not gonna do alone. You should know that. We should be in a community, we should have a network. There's no network, from what I've heard, you guys don't talk to each other. There's no network between any colleges. There's mishandling from last year in funds. Nobody knows what's going on with the funding. Every college has $38,000 to give to their students, and you're not doing that. You're not even finding or figuring out ways how to help people, and the people that are actually helping them firsthand are asking for money, are asking for your help, and you're not doing anything. I mean, go ahead. Keep doing this, staying over and over, but once we get it figured out, what happens to the budget? Oh, next meeting. Nobody knows who the president is. Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody cares. I mean, you guys clearly know what the hell's going on here. And students don't. So that's the main issue you guys should worry about, actually, because you're missing out on a lot of resources to do. They're robbing here. They're literally giving back to the people, and here you're wasting your time not doing anything. Then again, I was just today, so there's always tomorrow, so you can do something about it. Just remember. Thank you
so much for your time. We're going to have more public comments. We're only dedicating 10 minutes, so we'll keep that list towards the end of the announcements. Part of the announcements is student concerns and advocacy. We've given it 10 minutes. We've spent 4 to speakers. We're going to entertain 3 more speakers and then move on, and then we'll catch up on the speakers list after the last resolution. Do we have, who's next on these?
Okay, so we have Francisco on the Zoom who's had their hand raised for a while, so I'm going to honor them in the stack. Let me do it. And then okay, yeah, go ahead.
Why should these, as you say, quote-unquote, mixed people be removed from the conversation when they share the same struggle in history? As evidenced by your language and punctuation with these quotes, these are not in real valid identities to you. I want to be clear. I myself do not identify with an indigenous nation despite my ancestry. And often I felt that my identity was not Mexican enough, but not totally American either. What held me back and holds this conversation back, and our future back, is and was the racialization and stereotyping.
30 seconds.
Was and is true American identity. But our identities exist in multitudes, not as you prescriptively prefer. When a student's Mexican flag was burned, you mentioned and marched and wrote. When you attacked one Mexican, you attacked our entire tribe. Why should you receive any differential treatment, given you attack the identities of many mixed leaders, not many tribes? The last thing the school needs is
10 seconds.
Running a headline reporting our student body president goes around policing on who should be allowed in leadership and conversation by the color of their skin, and words that reported to be right. I yield my time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Francisco, for your public comment. Are there any other members of the community on staff?
It would be Isaiah.
Isaiah, and then the last one will be who on this staff?
So we do have quite a few Isaiah.
Okay, so after Isaiah, it'll be one more person. We're still on the announcements section of it, and I've allocated 10 minutes, meaning 5 people for this, so we're gonna have Isaiah on the next, and then we're gonna go into the resolutions, and then we still have at the end of this resolutions more space for public comment. So we're gonna continue with Isaiah, and then we'll take the questions. Go ahead, Isaiah.
All right, so my comment is actually unrelated to everything that's happened so far. All right, my name is Isaiah Burke, and I'm a 4th year Presby history major. I'm speaking today to offer the student body a warning about a dangerous homophobic bigot on our campus. A pair of paid petition circulators have been tabling since the first day of class in an attempt to overturn the Fast Recovery Act, one of the most important labor rights laws in California and U.S. history. Since that first day, I have lawfully and peacefully protested them, successfully discouraging my fellow students from ripping away the hard-fought rights of fast food workers. They have unleashed a barrage of threats and insults at me, at one point even calling the police, all to no avail. But last week, the situation escalated. The supervisor, a short, fat, white guy named Jay, called me a faggot and a dick-sucking faggot dozens of times, escalating in intensity and frequency when I told him I am a gay man, you cannot call me that. He also physically threatened me, telling me to talk, let's talk off campus, and a vague threat like some schoolyard bully. I have been in communication with the Dean of Students, the campus police, the county elections office, and the student union assembly, and I appreciate all of their support and help. But as of now, these old men continue to plague our campus. I'm begging my fellow slugs to, at the very minimum, ignore them, leave them alone, and refrain from signing their odious anti-worker petition. But if you feel able and confident enough, then join me in protesting them. Shut them down. They are pathetic cowards who will leave within minutes of you standing up to them, and let's tell them that we do not welcome homophobes and corporate bootlickers on our campus. Thank you.
Isaiah, thank you so much for your courage and your public comments, and you are welcome to this space anytime.
Thank you, Isaiah.
Next,
Next will be Eileen.
2 minutes.
Motion to extend the time for public comment.
Yes, we have not closed it. The time is going. We have not closed it, so we're just going to continue with the order of the agenda. Part of this agenda is student concerns and advocacy. After this announcement, which was crafted into a way that everyone can speak, we're going to continue, and towards the end, we're going to have time for additional public comment. This is just an announcement regarding.
Extend the time for public comment in this part of the agenda.
Can I get a second? Seconded by, that is Dan Barrow. Any objections? See that there's no objections, then the motion passes. For how long?
20 minutes.
For 20 minutes. So the motion, can I get a second for that? Seconded again by Crown. And any objections? Great, so we're doing 20 minutes, 9:07, we'll end it at 27? Cool. So we do have the next person on the agenda, on the stack, to 9:27, for this specific student concerns and advocacy. And mind you, we'll have more time at the end after this students concerns and advocacy to have more public comment. So if you don't get around in this 20 minutes, you'll get more time to speak later on. So there's someone on the stack, and that was Eileen. Eileen, please take the mic. And you have 2 minutes. Again, 30 seconds. I'll raise my hand. When it starts 10, I'll start 5. We need 10, 9, and then once you go over, I'll say thank you for your time, and that's your time to just wrap it up. Thank you so much. Eileen, go ahead.
Hi there. My name is Eileen Hales, and I am a 4th year transfer student. And I'm also part of Kresge College. I am here to talk to you. I wasn't planning to talk today, but I was the Vice President of Marketing and Records at my community college, West Valley College, and I was in charge of holding all the Constitution and bylaws and everything, and I knew them in and out, up, down, Brown Act, everything, sideways, went to SSCCC, Seesaw events, and I am shocked and appalled by the decorum that has happened in this room tonight. I am shaking with anger because I cannot believe that we have removed the chair and they are still talking. I cannot believe that we have denied multiple amendments, multiple motions, and we are still not moving forward. I applaud all of the people here who have talked and who have tried to make their motions heard, but it feels very frustrating when someone said it correctly earlier, filibustering. Our chair is filibustering. When there is a motion on the table that is about them, they should not be in charge of the discussion. There should be a second independent parliamentarian that is appointed to run this discussion because they cannot remain impartial. I believe that, I don't know what in this space can be done for that, but I believe that that should happen. As I said, we've removed the chair. They should respectfully step down if they respect the rules of this space as they claim to do. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your public comments. You're appreciated and you're always welcome in this space. Is there anyone else that has a public comment? Who's next on the staff? Salvador, please make your comments to 2 minutes.
Can you guys hear me? Hello, my name is Salvador Ochoa Jr., and I'm a second-generation Mexican-American student here at the University of California, Santa Cruz, as a 4th year. As the Student Union Assembly is officially recognized as a student-represented government, I call on SUA to file a statement against and the beginning of the impeachment process of the current SUA President, Alfredo, on a misuse of power and harassment against organizations on social media last week. Although everyone has a right to their own opinions, when an individual is voted into office, they represent the school as a whole and thus should be held accountable as such. The misuse of power shown when Alfredo used the official UCSC president account to target students, parents, and organizations on campus when division already exists should not and cannot represent SUA if they represent the whole student body and not the select few. Especially against a minority that has historically faced generational trauma on their forced assimilation within white society. If SUAs truly represent student interests, they cannot ignore how the president represents UCSC and its students. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Fran, for your public comment. You are appreciated and you're welcome in this space. Is there anyone else on staff that has a public comment? Chief of Staff, who's next? Andrea Lopez.
Hi everyone. I'm very nervous, so I'm sorry if you can hear it in my voice. But my name is Andrea Lopez. I'm a first-generation college student. I identify as Hispanic. My family is from Chihuahua and Montezuma, but I am also indigenous from Lakota. Well, I'm from the Lakota tribe, located in South Dakota. And I just wanted to comment on the comments that were made by our president on Indigenous Peoples Day, a day that was meant for celebration and gratitude towards my brothers and sisters, my cousins, my ancestors, was turned traumatic because of the comments that were made. My whole team, we were called homophobic, colorist, racist, which is not true at all. I'm here to represent the center. I represent the ARC, which I've worked for all 3 years here being on campus. I can tell you guys, none of us are racist, homophobic, colorist. That is not what we represent. We represent the student body. We represent and we encourage all Native students to come to us. If you're not Native, you're welcome at the center. If you are Native, we come with open arms. We want everyone to come to the center. We want everyone to feel welcome in our space. And it's very disheartening that the comments that were made are basically telling students that you are not welcome at the center if you're not dark enough, which is not true. We do not. I'm going to go over my time. I'm very sorry. I'm apologizing now, but I will be going over my time. Okay? It's very disheartening, everything that has happened. Being a mixed student on campus is it's hard, okay? My family, we do not talk about being indigenous due to generational trauma. And coming to the center my first year has had a community that has welcomed me with open arms and has helped me embrace my indigeneity. My fellow interns that are here today, I want to thank you guys for all of that. Share my public comment. That's all I have to say. Feel free to come to our center. We're located at the Bay Tree building. I'm always there. All the interns are always there. Our amazing director, the program coordinator, all the directors for all the centers are always there. Come through and see what we're about. Do not listen to what the president is saying. Thank you.
Thank you so much for public comment. You are heard, you are seen, and you're always welcome here. Do we have the next person on the stack? Charlie, please. 2 minutes.
Hello all. Pleasure to meet you, especially the lovely entrants from the ARC. They're some of my dearest friends here, even though I have only known them for a few weeks, all right? And the hatred you have spewed towards not just myself, but them, as interns, as Native people, as mixed Native people, as humans, where do you think you get off, Alfredo, okay? Where do you think you get off, Mr. Funny Guy? Yeah? I just want to say, okay, no matter your skin color, no matter what you look like, no matter who your ancestors, no matter who anyone is, you are welcome. Not just at UCSC, but the ARC. We love you, all right? We hear you, we see you a lot more than this jokester right here, all right? Just let me know, friend, okay? We see him a lot more than you see us, all right? I I want to apologize dearly. The AIRC, on behalf of every Native student here, we love you, all right? We see you. I love you. I see you all. Shout out to my lovely friends, my coworkers, amazing interns. I could not be here without you all right? All of you, especially the ones that aren't here tonight or still here on Zoom. I see you. I love you. I care about you, all right? Everyone here tonight, you're all beautiful, and I cannot thank you enough for being here right now. Yeah, okay, yeah, I hear you. All right, I'm done.
Thank you so much, Charlie, for your public comment. You're welcome, and you're welcome to make public comments anytime. Thank you for that public comment. Next person on the stack.
Can you all hear me? Good evening, council members. My name is Jane Ochoa. I'm a second year here at UCSC, and today I'm speaking in solidarity with the members of AIRC as a proud Mexican student looking to make a case for the impeachment of current SUA President Alfredo. The comments made by our current SUA President are disheartening not only to the community members that those comments hurt, but to the people you, Fredo, campaign to be a voice for. As a Mexican student, I find it ironic that you claim to have a zero-tolerance policy for hate and discrimination on the basis of ethnicity and race, when your comments are the catalyst to a conversation about hate speech and inclusivity. These conversations surrounding the well-being of the minority population here at UCSC should not be sparked by the person who is supposed to govern those same conversations. I do not believe that hate and ignorance should hold a place in student leadership. I do not want a student leader who dictates political action on the basis of skin color. I do not find your performance as a political activist charming or even convincing. If you want to be an actor, then I would assume that you would play the part of a politician, but instead you're a person, you're playing the part of a politician would use to make an example out of. And that's exactly who you are. You're an example of a leader who abused their power in the hopes that an uneducated statement would counteract the people and political skills that you desperately lack. I hope you feel every bit of embarrassment and shame for your statements. The statements that took you 6 days to delete, may I add. If you do feel embarrassed now, I assure you it's only a fraction of the amount of embarrassment that I feel to call you my university's president. I will never know the pain of being an Indigenous student who has been told they're not Indigenous enough to be a member of a club. But today I speak to suggest that we as a student body recall Fredo so that no student will ever have to feel that pain again.
Thank you, Jay, for your public comments. You're welcome here, and you're appreciated. Do we have the next person on the public comment list? Ochoa. Oh, that was the last name. So do we have the next one? Okay, so the next person. Grace. 2 minutes.
Hi, my name is Grace. I just want to say that I'd like to echo what everybody's been saying. I think that Fredo is abusing his position of power and making comments that invalidate people's identities, and he should be impeached for that. I would also like to say, separately to him making comments to invalidate people's identities, I don't think, as a character, he's a very good person. Last Friday, actually this Friday on the 14th, Fredo and his friend approached me and several of my friends. Most of us were women and we were visibly drunk. Feeling unsafe, I asked Alfredo and his friend to leave because I was feeling uncomfortable with his presence. All I told him was to just keep walking. His response to me was, I don't hate all white people, but I hate white bitches like you. Then he shoved my friend, told her not to come at him again, and walked away while calling us racist. I want to reiterate that all I said to him was to keep walking. The aggression that he showed was uncalled for, and I don't feel comfortable with this person representing me or the student body. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your public comment, Cruz. You're seen and you are appreciated, and you're welcome to make any public comments at any future meeting. Thank you for your comments. Do we have any other public comment?
Humility.
Miguel?
Hello, everyone. So I would like to start off with calling out the president for his inappropriate use of the internet. We can all agree that his use of the internet is very, very inappropriate. Nassim?
Now you calling out?
Okay. But you have to. But we have to distinguish between words and actions. Yes, his words can come off as very hateful. But are you all aware that he, sure including me, but mainly he, was able to acquire $123,000 that was supposed to be used for an advisory position, just one person, a professional, for the SUA. He acquired that amount, and he plans now to be using that to rent relief, to empower and unite diversity, to do all of these things. These are actions. I'm not excusing what he's saying. I'm calling him out, am I not?
Let him speak! Let him speak! Let him speak!
Yeah, I just wanted to point that out. He's inspiring people. He's actually talking to people who are homeless. This is a question for student representatives. Do any of you student representatives go beyond your friend group, the people you work with,
Some of us
to
have
try
been homeless.
to try to collect the opinion of the actual of the student body?
If you are being,
Your college is asking for funds. They don't know who the hell to ask. I made this point earlier. Like, what are you doing for your students?
There's a reason why no one still knows. Like many people still are not aware of the SUA. Last year, who was aware of the SUA?
Like, our
Clearly, people here are aware of the SUA. They've been aware of the SUA because they know about these things. Anyways.
It doesn't matter if we're aware. Our president should be saying this.
I'm just pointing out. I'm pointing out the facts. He was able to acquire this money, and it's going to be used for good purposes.
We have to understand who's working for that money for y'all before the dumb comments, and I would appreciate you to understand that too. You're going to be affected at the end of the day. Imagine resources.
You're not even in the SUA. Keep your mouth shut for now, please.
And let Miguelito finish his comment. He's almost done. Go ahead.
He has talked to underrepresented workers here on campus. He has talked to organizations, whether he agrees with their ideologies or not. He has he has really taken his time to talk to so many people. There's a reason why so many people know him.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your public comments, Miguelito. So next, last public comments on this, we have Hector, and then we're moving on. 2 minutes. we're going to move on as we've extended it a few times, and you are out of order. And if you keep it, we will have public comment at the end. You keep on interrupting. We have public comment, official public comment after the resolutions, and we're going to proceed with the last public comment. I ask you to please respect everyone's public comments. Whether we have two, Dora, you are out of order. Please sit down. We have not. So, have to finish your comment, and then we'll go to the next discussion. Go ahead.
Okay, that sounds good. Hello, y'all. Thank y'all so much for opening up the space in the SUA over a year. Thank y'all for the undergraduates for being involved. Shouts out to everyone out here being involved for the community. This is what we need. We need more political engagement right here, and this is how we change the world for the better. In order for us to move together and to progress, we must unify as undergraduate students. There's greater forces right now, greater political forces, that are laughing at this infighting between folks right now. That are laughing at this infighting between the SUA and the undergraduates because of this recent comment. The recent comment, there has to be some accountability, correct? But as students, we must unify. So,
Are you even a student?
Whoa!
out of order.
Please continue. Please continue.
Here's the thing, y'all. Here's the thing. We must unify together as students, as a youth, because there are greater political forces, that are gentrifying Santa Cruz, and they're laughing at students doing this.
That doesn't dismiss our pain.
Here's the thing. I'm not done yet. When it came to Indigenous people celebration, when it comes to celebrating Indigenous people, we must put African folks, darker skinned folks, in the forefront of that. Indigenous folks who are really darker skinned, right? It's not to deny the indigeneity of lighter skinned people. Me as a white Tino, y'all, I'm 40% indigenous. I'm 40% indigenous, right? When it comes to that, I don't go around saying that I'm indigenous. There's qualification of indigeneity. The sister here, she is indigenous. The sister here who was hurt, I feel you. I feel you. I understand you. I understand your pain. I don't understand you. But there are African and indigenous folks who are darker skinned, in which this space has to be more open for, right? Particularly here in this space, we must amplify African, indigenous, and darker skinned folks over here, especially with students. When it comes to the ARC, I completely understand, but let's amplify African and darker skinned indigenous folks, indigenous brothers and sisters here who are already further discriminated against. There was a burning of the Mexican flag. So many African and darker skinned indigenous folks were present in that protest, and they all amplified their voices, and they all felt amplified because of that. And SUA presidents, along with the community of African and indigenous POC activists within UCSC, did that.
10 more seconds.
So we must ensure that we put African, indigenous, darker skinned POC folks at the forefront of this conversation, and that we all unify as students in one front. Thank you all so much.
Thank you for your public comments. For purposes of the agenda that we approved today, we're going to go onto the resolution announcing hate acts targeted at Mexican students and community. And so we have on the agenda.
And it wasn't opposed. You have to. Are there more people who want to speak?
We're going to have a public comments. This is
No, the motion was seconded. And
right now.
Unanimously, you have to approve it to extend now.
Is there anyone in this room that still
Excuse
wants to
me,
speak?
you're out of order, Dora. So we are going to continue public comments. We are in the announcements and public comment section of the agenda. We are in the announcements. We already extended the student concerns and advocacy for 20 minutes. We're now going to go into the resolution assigning hate acts targeted at Mexican students and community. So, again, none of you all were recognized by the chair. You're speaking out of order, and it's been going on throughout the meeting, and it's only... The chair is the presiding officer, and I have to conduct...
Illegitimate chair.
The
Chair was moved.
You won't even listen to us.
We're going to move on to the resolution. The public comment is on the agenda. And we're going to...
Just go up. Just go up.
We're going to now... I need someone...
Empowers me as not only a woman, but a woman who identifies as Jewish, and a woman that experienced anti-Semitic hate crimes in the past. And what he's doing, as someone of Jewish faith, this is no different than Hitler. Hitler wanted Jews to be. I can say that because I've been hate crimes. I've seen swastikas put on my windows. Okay? What he's doing is doing the same thing to people who are indigenous, that are light-skinned. Your voice matters just as much as anyone else's in the indigenous community. I'm sorry, I know I'm white and I'm saying that, and I haven't experienced the same things you have. I'm sorry to say that from a white person's perspective. But you deserve to feel as loved and appreciated as someone that identifies as full indigenous or half. You should be loved, you should be held, and you should not be told that you're your own student body president, that your life doesn't matter as much as your love. Okay, we've come to this school, across the state, across the country, across the world, because we want to get an education. We want to be treated as equals, as intellectuals, as people. Okay? And his comments don't reflect the rest of us. They don't. We come to this school because we want to get an education, and we want to find our community. And we shouldn't be told by someone that the color of your skin is great question. If I tell someone that I'm half Jewish, they shouldn't be telling me that I should only be in my grade half the time as opposed to someone that's fully identified as a Jewish person. It's just so wrong, and I'm sorry, and I know this probably doesn't come across as the most thought out argument, but it just so sucks. We shouldn't have to have this right now. We should have a president that respects us. We should have a president that makes sure we're all loved. And we should be showing up tonight, not because we want to impeach the president, but because we want to come here to celebrate him. Okay? We should be coming here to celebrate our president. We shouldn't be all coming out tonight because we're against him. Okay? Next time the room should be this full, it should be over a celebration. That's fine.
Okay, so now it looks like for public comment, I need a motion to extend by 20 minutes. Seconded by Crown. Seconded by Crown.
I told you this was
Any
wrong.
objections?
And you're fucking doing it?
Seeing that there
I'm
are
telling
no
you,
objections,
I told you multiple times that these people are role playing. They're playing some sort of stupid game, and then you tell me that you guys.
I'd like to make the next
Okay,
public comment.
and you don't represent all of SUA, right? I'm just letting you know that the organization as a whole is fucking weird.
So, we're going to. Well, there was no line. They haven't signed up. She's here, so seeing that there's two folks on there, they're going to speak. And then, Richard, 2 minutes.
Hello, I'm not gonna lie. I'm trying not to have a panic attack.
Send that to me. Send that to me right now.
I want to say that this summer I have not been in communication with Alfredo. He's not made any point to actually have this as a community. First of all, I'm the external vice president of SUA. I was elected along with the rest of them in the spring. I work in political advocacy. Over the summer, we did a student organizing summit. We went to LA. I brought a few of the students here in the room. We were trying to do good work. Okay, second, during the summer, Alfredo didn't talk to us at all. When Cornucopia came, that was my first interaction with Alfredo after having a class with him. During Cornucopia, he had flyers up for different political organizations that SUA had not endorsed and I knew wasn't represented by the students. This included, this was an array of things, but I knew that we should not be endorsing different pamphlets, different measures without that student consent. So I took the pamphlets down from the Cornucopia table, and what we did after that is that he came up to me and he said, Mitra, what are you doing? Where did the flyers go? I tried to explain to him, it's on the Constitution. I want to make sure that students have a voice in what we're endorsing. We shouldn't even be endorsing that class in the first place because we're political advocacy and voting rights. He cuts me off and he says, Mitra, I am the president. I have the authority. You should not be talking to me like that. He keeps going on and on and on about the president, claiming the Constitution, even though it says and or the president, and or the assembly. He keeps saying that he's the president and you should not be talking to me. And he was stepping on my toes without talking to me or talking to any of the officers about our institutional knowledge. He just steps in. After that, he just keeps claiming that I'm not in his streets, we're not in his streets. He keeps talking about my experience as a person. He's going on and on. I'm trying to explain to him, and he talks to me in an extremely condescending and passive-aggressive way. And after that, he just leaves, and he puts the flyers back on. There are several other people in the room who try to put the flyers away, and he's putting them back on. Eventually, I start crying because I hate when men talk to me that way. I hate when we have pictures. Literally before this, there was a housing forum that Hector was at. I literally moderated the discussion. SUA, my office co-sponsored the event. I tried to have SUA sponsor the event. They reached out to us. We didn't have enough votes in time, so we're like, okay, the external vice president is going to endorse the event. No big deal. And so I tell them that, and literally, after 24 hours, I'm waiting for discussion from Alfredo. Alfredo doesn't say anything, but then he emails in the morning after I say that we're going to co-sponsor the event. He's like, actually, EVP cannot sponsor the event under my authority, under my rule. Here's the Constitution. It says, and or the assembly, and or the president. Literally, every time I talk to him, he claims that he's the president, and therefore I have no say. He says that with everyone. Okay, he yells at other representatives, and they can speak to that too. He's tyrannical and dictatorship in our SUA. It doesn't make sense. I literally haven't had an experience without it. I just want to say that it's internal too. We literally have had so much trouble working with him, and he won't come to us. And we have the knowledge. We've been several of us have been here since freshman year, and we're ready to go and to support students. And he won't come to us. And he keeps changing everything we do. It's so difficult. I hate it. I understand what people say about SUA. I get it. But we're trying to make changes. So I just want to say that it's very difficult working with him. He has yelled at me. He's been condescending and passive-aggressive, all while calling me his friend. I'm not his friend. I'm sorry, Alfredo.
Thank you for the public comment, Mitra. You're welcome to make public comment, and you're welcome in this space. Next public comments, 2 minutes. Please go ahead.
Hi everyone, my name is Jose. My Escola, you have those pronouns. And before I go to my actual speech or kind of comments, I do want to recognize that we are on stolen land on travel bans. And so I give my comment with respect to the people here today that have spoken. I'm here today to there's various reasons. One, there has been a lot of disinformation happening from our current SUA president, Alfredo. When he was running, I actually had a conversation with him just because I wanted to, as someone who was part of SUA and a transfer representative, I just wanted to have a conversation just to see how I can support him for the transfer, to see how hard it can be to represent our students, because we as transfers, there's a very small percentage of us that seen and heard in certain spaces. In terms of his platform, he was against abolishing the police, and then actually, when he had a debate turn around, he did a 360 and say, okay, let's abolish the police. Why was that? It's more to say, he's going to be making these claims for what the students want to hear, so he can get the votes. He wants to be heard, he wants to get center of attention. I think at this point, we don't need to have the center of attention. We need a different SUA president that actually speaks on behalf of students. The recent comments of the kind of incident about the indigenous folks, that really disrespectful, especially on Indigenous Peoples Day. It really just hurt me because now he claims that he's against hate and hateful rhetoric, yet he promotes himself using colorist language, and which to me it hurts me even more to see it from a person of color and Indigenous folk saying that, because it actually stems a lot of hurt from our own communities. And so I'm here as well to kind of even claim that I actually wanted to kind of point the direction to even the white VP of diversity and inclusion of why he hasn't been making any sort of actions since that allegations until today to actually make freaking workshops on cultural humility, workshops on equity and inclusion, workshops on actually trying to bring students together rather than having a divisive issue that's happening right now. We cannot continue to be divided on issues that are hurting our people, and we actually need to be unified and actually just come in as one to just really get things done. I get that SUA hasn't been the best in its past, and I do recognize that. I've been in SUA for almost 3 years, and I did hate and kind of feel unacknowledged at times, but we are moving in the direction of trying to progress. Yet Alfredo is holding us back by promoting disinformation. And so if I were you, I'd be careful and actually take screenshots of everything that he's promoting, because if you are really careful, you will see his trends are actually not consistent. His narratives change, his ideas and platforms do change here and there. And so please be careful of the small details, because he's not representing me as a Mexican, queer, person of color on campus, and I know he's not representing a lot of students here as well.
Josh, go ahead.
Hi, so, wow, what a first SUA meeting for me. I believe it's not like this a lot. I believe you guys. I came here with the idea of being impartial to what's going on. I'm just here. I really want to look at budgets and I haven't gotten anywhere yet. I really wanted. My intention was to come here, look at budgets, see what we can do for the student body, what I can do to represent Oaks in Oaks voices for what we would like. But what has happened has become very apparent to be very strong. I didn't see the post myself, and I'm not saying I don't believe it happened. Obviously, it did happen. But I didn't see the post, so I didn't want to say anything against Alfredo. But I will say that one student that came up here and had the allegation that he called her a you-know-what. She kind of had me at that. So, maybe I used to know my thought.
In NPC mode?
Yeah, I don't agree with what Alfredo's been doing. I also want to mention, and I want to bring up the idea that the Mexican flag has been burned. There was a student that came to campus, and from what I understand, his Mexican flag, or the family's Mexican flag, was taken from them. Her. Well, I don't want to. I don't want any clues to who it may be, but okay, her. So this. Did I say he? I just realized that. I'm sorry. So it was burned, and I cannot. To come to a school that you're very excited about, and your family be very excited about, and you get all the support in the world from your family and love, and you're doing such a great job. And for somebody for being at UCSC is seriously uneducated, when you close the door on other cultures and other ideas because you have anger issues or you can't control your own emotions, you completely close the door on an entire world that you don't even know. We're all on this earth trying to survive, and when you close the doors to connections or people who you can build a community with, then you're actually destroying your own survival, and it's it's stupid, and whoever, if they get that person in trouble, then they should really be expelled and definitely be fined, whatever, to the highest extent possible. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I want to say.
Thank you guys so much for your public comment. You're appreciated. Next public comment, 2 minutes.
Yo, I'm back. And before I talk, I'm gonna just take a deep breath. And I suggest we all do the same. Holy shit, man. Jesus Christ. It's so easy to get worked up over this shit, man. But I want to take a step back. I'm not a stranger to this space, and I understand it's bullshit. But how about a student coming in for the first time? Obviously, this shit is pretty dysfunctional. And I want to talk a little bit about why that is. I don't think enough people have talked about why that is. I'm going to answer that question by first shouting out a voice in this room that's really important in answering this question. That's Amanda Pepe. Amanda was hired by the President's Office last year as the secretary. And the secretary's job in this space is to record notes. It's a noble job, but it fucking sucks. It fucking sucks. It's boring. And the entire purpose of the job is to be the person that listens and gives people in space a voice. And record that voice in the minutes so that everybody here who doesn't give a shit about the SUA and doesn't go to the meetings can read the minutes on the website and hear the voice of the assembly. That's an extremely important role. Somebody said the phrase institutional memory, right? Institutional memory. And I've heard the president tonight talk about making sure everybody's voice is heard. That's important. And Amanda's job last year was to record everyone's voice, to make and to immortalize that voice for the benefit of the public. And Amanda knows as well as I do how, when the position of parliamentarian opened up later, why pursuing that was important to her, because as the parliamentarian, you prevent what happened tonight, which is a lack of structure and a lack of, organization that just makes people frustrated and on edge. And, then you wonder, why might the administration and the faculty have, a more sway over this university's politics, right? It's because they're here for effort. We're here for 4 years, and we're stuck doing this stupid shit every time, arguing amongst each other. When in reality, what we need to do is foster leaders like Amanda internally, hire them. So let me ask you this. Are we in agreement about that? That we need to foster leaders internally, give students a voice? Okay, great. Why the fuck did you fire Amanda, bro, as parliamentarian? Why would you do that? And didn't pay her for any of the work over the summer. She worked all summer long, and she didn't get paid for her fucking work. Is that equity? That's not equity. That's not even close to equity. That's fucked up. That's fucked up. That's not what the president should do. And how about Garrett? Hold on, I want to pause for a second. I'm serious about this shit. How about Garrett? Okay, if anybody fucking knows Garrett, this man is a fucking dean. How rare is it that a dean gives a shit about students? He's been here the whole time. He's been here the whole time. He hasn't left. He hasn't left. He didn't. Because he cares about our voice. And he was disrespected earlier. He was disrespected earlier by our president. That's how the administration views the student union. Disrespectful. That's not okay. The reason that we don't have a voice as students is because we don't have people fostering relationships. And the space is so chaotic, nobody wants to fucking stay in the space. Right? We need an acceptable space. We need a space that's safe to share opinions, where everybody's motion is heard, and a parliamentarian who knows how to foster out the bullshit, which would have been Amanda. But there's nobody right now. Is unilaterally one man who thought he could do the job. Clearly he could not. I think it's time to go, man. I'm sorry. I think it's time to go.
public comment. Go ahead.
Sorry, I have a brief stack announcement. So, let's see. After Colm comes Logan, and then Dora, and then Sarah, and then I have an announcement. Just so everybody is aware of, like, you know, like, kind of been ignoring it a little bit, and then kind of not really, but, you know.
Hi, my name is Logan Howard. I'm a second-year undergraduate student in the computer science program at UC Santa Cruz. I just want to expand upon the comments that I heard earlier, that Fredo has been known for flipping his stances about police abolition, and as a labor activist working to support the rights of SEIU 521, Starbucks United, and UAW coming up this November. I just want to say that Fredo's done the exact same thing for the labor movement. Fredo has recently been promoting a candidate, Shebra Kalantari Johnson, for county supervisor, who, among other things, is one of the main people responsible for not giving SEIU workers a fair contract and a fair living wage and healthy working conditions. I just want to say that the SEIU workers down at the City Hall, down at the wharf, they work really hard, they don't get paid enough, they're in unsafe working labor conditions, and Fredo is actively promoting the candidate that is hurting them. Alfredo is not to be trusted if you're a union member in the town or a grad student in the UAW union, and I highly recommend that he be recalled or impeached. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your public comment.
So the next is going to be Dora.
I don't know if I ever actually introduced myself. My name is Dora. I am the Vice President of Academic Affairs at the SUA right now, and thank you all for listening to me. I want to address, there have been some comments about budget and about money. The SUA has a fair bit of money. We give a lot of it to students. Last year we promised the big 5 organizations a couple of $1,000s, something like $4K each, I think, and we have not been able to give them that because our president has refused to convene the space and pass the budget. As soon as we pass the budget, they get that money, but we have not been able to do that yet. Along with that, student life at our campus has been struggling after the pandemic. We are meant to take student fees and give that money back to students. It is not our privilege to do that, it is our duty. The only way for us to do this is to approve the budget and activate SOFA, which stands for Student Organization Funding Advisory. It's the body that distributes the funds to student loans and students. We have not been able to do that yet. I have been approached by students and orgs asking about SUA funding. These include the students behind the student-taught classes Black Radical University, Historical Filipinx Dialogues, and Docu-Studies, as well as the Department Chair of Critical Race and Ethnic Studies. I have had to turn them all away because our president has refused to assemble the space. Fred's refusal to fulfill his duties has hurt students immensely at this campus. That is all, thank you.
So the time on this item is going to expire in about 1 minute. So if you want to extend, just a friendly, like, the time is going to expire.
I'd like to extend 30 seconds. Seconded by the Vice President of Student Life. Any objections? Seeing that there is no objections, we're going to extend this conversation, I think 20 minutes, that's what we had agreed upon earlier. Thank you so much for your public comments on student concerns and advocacy. We still have 20 more minutes of this. Is there anyone else in the public that has not gotten to share their concerns to the SUA? It doesn't have to be related to anything on the agenda. Oh, we have a stack. So we have Sarah next.
Hi everybody, my name is Sarah. I use she, her pronouns. I live here in Oaks. I've only ever lived here in Oaks. I'm from Fresno, California. I'm a first generation student. I was dissuaded from being involved in student government all of my childhood by my culture and upbringing. And fortunately I was able to repair those relationships that allowed me to be involved in student government. And brought me to this moment right now to come up here and have the courage to speak to you all and say that, share a little story, just a piece of wisdom that I was told yesterday, which is that when someone stops being direct with you, when someone stops coming to you, when someone stops talking to you, then they've given up on you. And they don't believe that you have a chance for redemption or to meet a compromise, not a compromise, to meet a resolution. I want to say that I personally do not stand with anything that you have said, anything that you spread, any message that you have harmed. Many groups, many people, many individuals in this very room are experiencing real traumas at the hands of you running this meeting and refusing to let people go about having a third party run the meeting. Because if you were wanting to have dialogue with people, you would ask for a mediator who could then be impartial. If you were willing to come to a conversation with openness, empathy, kindness, and humility, no one has to be at fault. Although there are things that should be held accountable for, they are wrong. They do not need to be tolerated, but we can recognize that there are times and places for people to improve, and if you don't want to meet us at that table to have that conversation, then maybe there is no room for redemption. And what does that tell you to do with your life at this moment? I really believe that as someone who has made many mistakes in my life, many ignorant moments, and many words that I do not wish to ever mutter again because of ignorance, I really invite you to take a seat at that table, have someone else lead the conversation, and move forward with all the very important issues that we face every day at this university. Within the last couple of weeks of being here, we've experienced violence, homophobia, racism, sexism, misogyny, discrimination against trans and people of color. I'm sorry if I'm tripping over my own words. But of groups being affected in the room right now, of groups coming to this space and vocalizing our thoughts and opinions. I think it's very important that to recognize that this is a first for many of us to be in a space where we even need to get up and seriously advocate for yourself. You're learning how to go out and vote, you're learning how to gather, how to collectively have meetings, to do grassroots work, but right now we're doing it in the moment and we're getting up and having these conversations, and it may feel cringe, and it may feel weird, and it may feel unfair, because we deserve to be here and have an education. I paid for an education. I bleed for an education. I bled for my education. My right to an education. As a woman, as an American, as a Hispanic person, as a human being, we all deserve education and we deserve empathy, and this has turned into just a moment of people forgetting that we're humans first, outside of the roles, outside of being elected, outside of being electors. We're human beings, and I hope that as you continue to get up here and state your opinions, have your views, give your side, please try to treat each other with the most kindness that you can. Because if someone doesn't accept your kindness, then that is ultimately on them. And that's all I have to say right now.
I've been asked for the Zoom, if the people on the Zoom could please just be reminded to be civil, to keep in mind that this is still still supposed to be a forum where we respect each other and have
Yo, where'd you get that? What'd you do? Oh, okay. Is there extras? No, I'm good. No. You're hungry, you eat. Thank you, bro. Thank you.
I'm Fredo's chief of staff
people
right
share.
Now, and it's been fun. And I want to acknowledge that while I'm the chief of staff, and you know, I'm also chair of Powell Senate. And it's been kind of difficult lately to to maintain impartiality. But you know, I still try to do that wherever I can, because I know that when I'm in charge of a space, I really need to be responsible for taking care of that space and making sure that it can continue as it's supposed to and be a healthy environment, because the people there in the space that I lead really they really depend on somebody who is both knowledgeable in the space and who carries themselves with the respect for this space to ensure that it can go on for years after we all graduate. So with that being said, I really don't want to get into ad hominems or slandering anybody individually. My style as chair is to always try and focus on why certain people are better for the roles that they're in, rather than why other people are not good. And I think having that idea of positivity has really helped me be chair. But I say that to say that as chair, I've had a lot of experiences that I think are very similar to what a parliamentarian of the SUA would, have and experience. And I say that to say that, of course, it's a tough job, and what's gone on lately is just really sad. And I've brought this up to my own Senate while being impartial, but recognizing that Amanda Pepe was the lawfully elected SUA parliamentarian. And while we can argue about technicalities and what the Constitution does or does not say, or who's in charge of what, I think it's important to acknowledge that she has really carried herself so professionally, and I could never, I think it's just so amazing, because I have her in my ethics school class, and I've seen that she always, she doesn't talk a lot, but that's okay. I know that you're always looking so professional, and you're always keeping your head up, and I think, speaking of heads being up, your head should be up here, rather than there. I just want to finish this off by saying I really have to personally acknowledge that while respecting that I am chief of staff right now, and I have to be careful with what I say, I've seen a lot of things that I think a lot of you haven't seen. I have, access to records that Amanda also has access to, that Amanda was included in. And I have to say that I have seen the email chains, and I know that exactly what happened to lead to Amanda's removal is very poorly understood in this body, but I want to say that it just seemed very off from what I read, and I think that regardless of whatever is maintained here right now, she was elected, and even though she wasn't paid over the summer, and we're gonna worry about that later, but we're gonna take care of it. But even though she wasn't paid, and she should have been paid for her work, because she did great work, even though I haven't really seen it. I'm not really obsessed, but I think regardless, here right now, she should be the one being parliamentarian right now. And I think you're white now. And that's what I believe.
Thank you so much for your public comment. If you have anyone else on staff.
Information, the email chain is in the chat for anyone who wants to see it. Thank you.
So, do you have any other?
Yeah, here. The link is right here. Oh fuck! It's a straight up fucking PDF.
Hello everybody, my name is Kamiko Hostler. I'm from the village of Top Milden, a member of the Hoopa Valley Tribe. I'm also the lead intern for the American Indian Resource Center. I would like to address, like many others have, the disrespect, backwards views, and discrimination that the SUA President Alfredo has perpetuated against the AIRC and all Native and Indigenous students on campus. For those of you who did not see the comments that were posted on the UCSC Instagram, I'd like to share a comment about Alfredo and a comment that my mother, whom I looked up to and asked for advice on this as I looked to my elders for these issues. She left a response that I think encompassed all that Alfredo needs to hear since he did not respectfully acknowledge it before. Alfredo said, "What in the Christopher Columbus is this? This is not an accurate representation of Indigenous people at UCSC or anywhere." My mother said, "At UCSC, Fredo, you owe my family payment Indian way. My daughter is in this picture and comes from the village of Top Milden in Hoopa, California. Her great-grandmother is the oldest living member of our tribe. You have disrespected her, my family, and our ancestors with your ignorant comment. It is bad enough that we have to deal with these settler colonial mindsets from European descendants, but exponentially insulting when it's another brown person who's in a leadership position. I'm going to guess by your uneducated comment you are not connected to any Native communities in a real way, therefore don't know the pain I'm referencing. Your colorism is rooted in racism and undermines our plight, discounting our work to disrupt and decolonize systems that perpetuate stereotypes and romanticize Native Americans. I'll be waiting for your apology to the AIRC, which better be with humility and respect. If you want to be educated on California tribal communities, message me directly." I couldn't have said it any better myself. As one of the other AIRC students said, the AIRC is for all Indigenous students, of every color and every background. We make up less than 1% of the population here at UCSC, and we should turn nobody away. Because if nobody does things for our community, you know no one else will outside of us. And it certainly doesn't look like Alfredo will be either, since he's spewing this hate, and he's perpetuating this hate throughout campus against Indigenous students. I ask that he immediately be removed from office. Aho.
I've been waiting to make up a comment, and
he's out of order right now.
I am going to now take some time to read a statement I wrote in response to what has been said.
Is he out of order? I really want to know.
Hi, friends.
Oh, he's president? Okay.
Why are we here?
Down.
We're here not only to discuss, but also to hear from the person that we've been hearing about. I'm the president of this student body. I was elected last quarter by over 58% of the vote. By people like you. Some of you here voted for me, some of you all didn't, and we are here. Let me just start by saying that efforts to remove me happened even before I made any comments about Indigenous peoples. They had a meeting last quarter, an emergency meeting, to remove the president even before the president was president, right? So these efforts to remove Fredo are not new. They've been going even before any comments. There's been a lot of misinformation, specifically not about the ARC comments. I fully take accountability for those and I will address them, about other comments I've made in different spaces. They will be addressed. For now, I want to say the following. I wrote a resolution affirming Black and Brown Indigenous that is the intention of all my comments, and I will address them in the following statement. So, whereas over the weekend of October 7th, 2022, the country learned of the horrific and hateful comments that political leaders in the most powerful city in California made attempting to erase. And I think you all have heard those comments.
Yes.
Chicanx, Latinx identified, usually of lighter skin. And it's sad that there was a darker skinned individual, Gil Cedillo, who I know personally, involved in those comments. They were caught in a union building with union bosses attempting to erase dark indigenous peoples from Oaxaca. I'm from Guerrero, right next to Oaxaca, which is why we look darker. We are people of the sun. And they were talking about erasing Black people in the redistricting political process. Whereas a Mexican flag and Afro-Indigenous symbol was burned next to a notable people of color college at UCSC, Oaks. Whereas on Monday, October 10, 2022, the official UCSC Instagram account posted a picture recognizing the, quote, visibility of indigenous peoples. And I perceived that representation of Black and Brown indigenous peoples was absent once again. Whereas this same official UCSC Instagram account that same time is known to have made comments erasing Oaks College. Who here from Oaks remembers those comments that the UCSC account made erasing Oaks visibility? So, erasing Oaks College and its diverse group of students in this same week of the posting of the Other Indigenous Peoples Day celebration post. Whereas, after seeing coexisting identities and indigenous identities of my fellow brothers and sisters, me, myself, the president of the Student Union Assembly, made official comments under the Office of the President Instagram. Whereas my intentions were to let the university and institution know, UCSC, who posted that, hear the need to highlight Black and Brown indigenous representation as all indigenous people to continue to be victims of political violence. Whereas the response to the president's comments was anti-Blackness. Some response online was anti-Blackness, anti-indigenous hate, violence, and even death threats, including to the president, where people have gone online to say, kill Fredo. An indigenous person born in the Tlapaneco region of southern Mexico. They also targeted one of my chief of staffs. I have two chief of staff who is of Afro-Indigenous background. So now on the internet we have an Afro-Indigenous person and an indigenous person targeted with deaths because there we speak about colorism within the native indigenous community. Whereas brown and indigenous peoples of African and indigenous people exist, can you get me the resolution, Savannah? It's about to run out and I don't have space to go down. So, whereas that was the response.
30 seconds.
Whereas nonviolent criticism of the university's pitfalls serving Black and Brown indigenous peoples should have never led to calls for violence and threats to end the president's or threaten anyone's life. Whereas the president, myself, welcomes all allies and everyone who celebrates indigenous land culture, music, and food to uplift brown and black indigenous voices, and stand with us amidst attacks, death threats, and erasure. Whereas whatever my intentions, whatever the president's intentions, the impact of the statement triggered hurt, pain, and feelings of exclusion among students and their families. And for that, I apologize. For that, I tell you I love you, I see you, and will stand with you in your hurt, as many of you all have stood in mine. My words and feelings should have never been made under a picture of my fellow students and engage in a more productive conversation about colorism and mutual existence. Whereas many of the students in the Instagram post usually shared are close friends, and I thought they would understand, who I've had these conversations with them personally about colorism. These are friends I have drummed with. These are friends I have prayed with. These are even some friends I have danced with. And expressed how our shared indigenous identities make us stronger. Whereas the comments were not in reference to their existence, but rather the university's efforts when they usually post or make statements that divide the university. It triggered me as a dark indigenous person right after the Mexican flag was burned, right after the Chicano Latino politicians attempted to erase. I saw it as another attempt. However, my judgment was clouded by my frustrations, and again, for that I apologize. Whereas online anonymous Reddit, Yik Yak, Instagram, trolls, and hate do not represent the thousands of students who have shown, many of them who showed up to the protest that we held last Wednesday, in solidarity in the face of violence towards Afro-Indigenous peoples. Therefore, I ask for the students who were in that picture with her to accept my apology if warranted, and that this incident ignites conversations to keep uplifting all Indigenous peoples, mixed race Indigenous peoples of light identities, especially Indigenous peoples of black and brown identities, who, as we see right now in Los Angeles and even in this room, continue to face violence, erasure. So I wanted to then, part of my public comment, and I've been taking away the time, so I'm going to just address the assembly. There are supposed to be 43 people who are members of the assembly. Last year, the assembly voted to hire a parliamentarian who, according to the SUA Constitution and what's been done for the previous 2 years, has served under the office of the president. The previous president told me that they hired a parliamentarian under her office. I then met with the advisors, and the advisors told me, the financial advisors, that that person hadn't been officially hired, and asked me to send an email with the name of the person who the previous assembly chose. I thought it was imperative for this assembly and for the students who are yet to become part of this assembly to understand that these positions, and to make these positions for the whole assembly open to the student body. All of you all have received emails from the office of the student body president asking you all to apply for the positions of the SUA. As you've heard in this meeting, a lot of students have been in the SUA space for 3-4 years. My effort to open up these positions was for people like you, people like Zion who disagree on my rhetoric, people like Elena who agree, people like you all to join the SUA, so it won't be the same 15 students making a decision on behalf of the 20,000 student body.
No, we don't want you.
On the agenda, we have space to keep everyone talking about the budget. On the agenda, we have items. People are saying I haven't met with officers. I just spoke to Mitra yesterday. I just spoke to Amalia through Miguel about the money they have requested. The money that myself, the Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion, has gathered. While my comments were not productive, I acknowledged for them and I apologize. My intentions were to bring up the conversation of colorism. Because guess what? It is Afro-Indigenous students, it is Black students, it is all students, even white students. The majority of people in Santa Cruz are homeless are white, who need rent relief. You know, we have students who are making news in the LA Times, and it is not because, you know, they solved the issue of cancer, it's because they are homeless. I ran on a platform of uplifting the most marginalized students on campus, and right now I am going to apologize again for the comments I made that I have stalled the work that I was elected to do. So I will meet with the ARC. I have issued a formal apology, especially to the friends, my friends who I've heard, who I've drummed with, partied with, and danced, to keep going. So thank you so much for your time, and then I'm going to continue facilitating the meeting as it is my lawful duty as the student body president elected by 1,800 people, and I have to respect the will of all students that elected me to serve. Thank you so much for your time.
So the time has expired. If you guys would like to extend this motion, this would be the time.
Motion to extend the time by 20 minutes. Can I get a second? Second.
No objections?
No objections? Cool. Time extended by 1 minute.
Do you have any people on the staff?
Yeah.
What's the motion?
Hi students, SUA members and executives, faculty, everyone that's here in attendance. My name is Kevin Thompson, I use different pronouns, environmental studies major, and here at Starbucks union organizer. As a labor activist, you know, the SUA is a union of students, and it must be representative of that. When I led the Starbucks unionization drive, SUA, led by Ray Diaz, passed a resolution in support of organizing workers, because SUA is meant to promote student activism and promote the leaders who are supposed to be representative of that.
Thank you for coming.
Currently, it is not that space. The SUA needs a president that is a leader. Now, many of you have attacked Fredo, but instead, I think you should consider how this impacts the office of the presidency itself. The SUA needs a functioning government so student activists on campus can do the needed work to not only challenge Cynthia and the administration on the vital issues of homelessness, environmental justice, and immunization with our grad student workers, but also making sure that the activists on campus have the resources necessary to do that. Currently, SUA has not met this year other than this meeting, which has never happened before, and that has impacted SOFA funding, as many of you have already heard. That funding is necessary for activists on campus to do the work to fight back against Cynthia and any administrator that is trying to hold us back. That includes the UAW grad students, that includes the Student Researchers Union, that includes all students who are fighting for all of us. We are all fighting to make sure we have a space that is necessary and facilitates that. Now, many of you have already heard, and Fredo just apologized, which is great, and that is one step necessary to begin the healing process that is needed for this organization. In LA, we had 3 city council members, as Fredo also mentioned, that recently had racist remarks come out against them. Only one of them resigned. So Alfredo, I ask you, I know you, brother, to truly heal this organization. I demand your resignation, not because I don't like you as a person, but because of the office of the presidency itself needs to be held accountable whenever hate comes into any space. Hate should not happen in any space, no matter what. And that is why I think either you should resign or the SUA members who have been either elected or appointed should either recall or impeach. Thank you all.
For your great work and public comments. Do we have any other members of the public that are on staff that like to speak?
All right, fantastic. So real quick, you know, honestly, I don't think I really need Mike. I'm pretty loud as this. Oh, good point, good point. So real quick, I just honestly want to start this out. Quick raise of hands. How many of you did not know SUA existed before Fredo? Before you learned it through Fredo? Just quick raise of hands. And then there is a certain amount, and Fredo, you have a lot of followers on Instagram. There is a large amount of students that feel best represented through you. I want to start this out, honestly, by praising you for the things I think that you have done incredibly well. Because I was a member of SUA last year, and I am critical of many aspects of SUA. I was a member of it about a month, 48. I'm critical of the way the budget was done. I think there were a lot of changes that needed to be done. Fredo has addressed some of those changes. I'm critical of the fact that, honestly, nobody knows what goes on in SUA, except pretty much student government members. I think that SUA needs to be much better at telling everybody what is happening in SUA. That's a criticism that I still hold to say. I think that you have done a really good thing for this community in that you have brought a lot of awareness to a lot of major issues that the school does have. You have brought awareness to SUA. You have brought accountability to SUA. However, when all is said and done, I do not feel comfortable with you representing the student body as chair. Listen, I talked to you. I went out of my way. You noticed. We got lunch, breakfast one day, and we just talked about all policies. And I found myself agreeing with almost every single thing you said. Last year, I was an avid supporter of you. Over summer, I was still a supporter of you. I just can't say anymore. It's as simple as that. I agree with almost every policy you have said. Every single thing that you posted on Twitter, for the most part. I've been, yes, this is a good idea. He's bringing awareness to vital issues at our school. You have, in fact, you have copied some of my stories and reposted them. And I appreciate that. I really want to thank you. When all said and done, I don't know. I think a lot of people here have already said what I'm saying. I just don't feel like the best representation of SUA, of this school, going forward. And for that reason, I mean, I'm going to be honest. There have been a lot of people that have already criticized you at this point. I'm just not going out to train, but I think the majority has spoken. I think that the writing's kind of been wall. I think that if you keep saying an SUA, you're probably going to be impeached. So I would ask you to resign.
Thank you so much for your time.
Point of information. Is public comment limited to 2 minutes?
For now, it's what we've been going, so we give as many people the chance, and it's been extended as they see fit. We're not telling them to fight, as long as they keep going.
Okay, so if I do put myself on track and I go past 2 minutes, it's fine.
You'll be fine, correct.
Thank you.
I have another stack announcement. So since I'm doing affirmative stack right now, and stack generally allows people to time line if they haven't said anything, X would like to make an important announcement regarding the Big Five. So you can come up and do that if you'd like. Or just a general announcement for the Big Five. I'm not sure what you want to.
as BSU president, I'm here representing.
Zoom people need to hear you. Yeah, Zoom.
As BSU president, I'm here representing BSU, and I'm reclaiming my seat within SUA.
Hello, my name is Ethan. I'm the Body Health Chair, and I also reclaim my seat in SUA.
Hey, y'all, I'm Jeremiah. I am the APISA primary signer, and I'm reclaiming my seat in SUA.
Hi everyone, I'm Jen, and I will be reclaiming my seat as
I have a point of information actually. Can all of the voting members please raise their hands?
Yes, thank you, I appreciate it.
We need to take quorum, so let's do that right now. That includes Big Five.
I'm going to do that again. It's 18, so quorum is half plus 1, so it will be 10.
Thank you.
Let me update that.
Who's next on staff?
Oh, so 19? Okay.
Hold on. Can we do that again, please?
Raise your hand if you are a voting member.
Somebody want to do the math for 3/4? Okay. It's 11. It's 11. Anyone want to do the math for 3/4? 19. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm stopping the meeting so that we can understand how many people can actually vote. So 3/4 is 15. Yes, I'm saying members that are present that have voting power.
It's 14.25 round up to 50.
So we are at 15 for 3/4.
Yes.
And 11 for quorum.
Yeah.
Zion, who is next on stack?
Thank you. So it's going to be Antoine.
Thank you. Amalia, we're switching spots.
Oh no, Amalia has the same spot. So you're good. I put you in the front. Do you want to like switch spots with her for the second announcement?
So just go through stack. Okay. This is how this is gonna go. We're gonna go through stack. Okay. When Amalia goes, Amalia is gonna reclaim her time and give it to me. That's how this is gonna go. Oh yes. Voting members on Zoom, please raise your hand. Anyone else put your hand down?
There's too many trolls in the Zoom chat.
Oh, never mind. Okay, then we will do this in person. Sorry. Oh, what's up, Chancellor? Oh my God. All right.
No fucking way. Wow. Is that the fake
Can I get a
chancellor or is that
waterfall?
real?
Thank you.
I'm curious, Juan is also a voting member, although she is online. I hope I didn't
So that is 20, which means quorum is still 11, 3/4. Still 15.
15 exactly now instead of round.
Thank you. We're going to do this right. right. Okay. All right. Whoever else. Who was next on staff? Antoine. You are out.
Hello. I first wanted to say I lived at Oaks last year. Oaks. So I just quickly want to say thank you, Miguel, for acknowledging that Oaks is neglected and is kind of far away from all the other colleges. So I thank you all to be here at Oaks because it's a great place. It's nice. We don't have a generator, it's fine. But other than that, what I don't appreciate though is having SUA president that is so like becoming a dictator. And I don't think in a place that's trying to be democratic or someone's trying to represent the people just tries to take the power and doesn't follow the Constitution. I don't think that should be allowed. And I wanted to thank X and the Big Five for bringing some order to this. And thank you to all the executives that are like fighting against this dictator. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your public comment. We have the next person on stack for 2 minutes, and I'll continue the reminder for 30 seconds. That's a reminder that there's more students that need to speak. However, we will not cut your mic and continue as you please. However, be mindful that there's students on stack that would like to speak. So 2 minutes, and then keep going as you fit. I'll just keep reminding you every 30 minutes that there's people on stack. Who's the next person on the stack?
It's going to be Daniel.
Daniel? Yes.
When is this meeting ending?
You know, they've extended the public comment, so we're going to end it as we're going to go until as many people speak and share their concerns with the SUA.
So when is the next time that we have to redo the 20 minutes? Does that make sense?
That's a good question. In 5 minutes, would you? Yes.
I reserve my right to make a motion. I think there's not much I can say that hasn't been said by many, many others. So I am going to do something.
Let it
happen. Let it happen.
You think so?
If the people in the vote, if the people who have voting power vote for it to happen, then it will not happen.
Okay.
Under the SUA Constitution, Article 2, Section 8, Subsection 1, any executive officer of the SUA is subject to recall through a 3/4 vote of the SUA. So I motion to recall Alfredo Llamasamaran, sorry if I said your name wrong, as SUA president due to all the things that were said earlier. I don't necessarily feel the need to repeat them because I don't want to worry. I might accidentally get something wrong, and I don't want to worry about that. So, any seconds?
That is out of order.
That's a conflict of interest.
As the chair, sir, you're out of order. Again, this is not the first time, nor will it be the last, that this motion has been made. We have published an agenda to the community, the student-wide community, which includes public comment. During public comment, we cannot deliberate, and many folks have been going back and forth. I'll remind you that we cannot do that. Right now is a time for students to voice their concerns, to voice their concerns during public comment. The motion is out of order. It is not on the agenda, and we will continue the public comment. Who is the next one on the stack?
Was there a motion?
The motion was out of order. As the chair, I am asking you to please tell me who the next person on the stack is so they can make their voice heard.
I'm going to let Amanda, could you educate us on whether
Well,
motions to impeach...
Zion, you're not out of order. You're not out of order.
I'm asking Amanda if she can clarify, since she has read the Constitution and the bylaws,
Right.
whether or not that motion can be
We already had this conversation earlier, and I am asking
for community, if you're here and you're witnessing what is going on, I encourage you to also make a public comment, whether you're for or against what's going on in this meeting. Everyone has a right to speak, and everyone should speak during public comments. That is not on the agenda. It is.
I want to hear what Zion and Amanda have to say.
Oh, they can speak. This is public comment.
So I'm Amanda. Hello. I know a lot of people might be confused what my role is and how exactly I was removed. So I'm just going to touch on it very briefly. Essentially, I was elected the last week of spring, which our Constitution says to do. However, there is a part at the end that says in a matter outlined in the bylaws, and the bylaws do not outline anything. So because of that, Alfredo believed that my hiring was invalid because it was performed by last year's assembly, although I'm not logically elected by last year's student body. So. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is that I immediately stopped working because I respected and I understood what his decision was. However, he failed to let anybody know, despite me asking him 3 separate times, which is all documented and has been shared in the chat multiple times. One of the people that he failed to let know was the DRC and STARS. I had a meeting with them, and they were not informed, and they sat there waiting for an hour not knowing where I was. And the only reason I found out is because I decided to sneakily log back into the Parley account, because I was very afraid that this would happen, and sure enough, I was notified by somebody that is what happened. So that's more or less the gist of why I'm not chairing this meeting tonight. So just some constitutional rundown, some Robert's Rules rundown. Robert's Rules is what governs this space. If you hear people yelling point of information or point of constitutional whatever, that is Robert's Rules. They are allowed to make those points. They are allowed to interrupt the chair. They are allowed to remove the chair. They are allowed to remove Alfredo as president. It says clearly in the Constitution whether or not he is the residing chair, which he isn't because we voted on it, and he refuses to let go of the mic. But yeah, it's been voted on already. You are not the chair. The people want you out. I mean, this whole room is come up in smoke.
Thank you so much for your comment.
Thank you so much for public comment.
Dozens of students have come up and expressed their disapproval and their disagreement with the way that you have been running this space. This assembly wants to vote to remove you, and you need to let that happen. Now I'm done.
Thank you so much for your public comments. Do we have any more people? I will be personally taking the stack, as the chief of staff is no longer taking the stack. Is there anyone else? Because I'm not getting the stack numbers. Who's the next? Who's the next? The motion is out of order, as it is out of the agenda.
Stop role playing! Holy shit!
Hey, nobody
So-
make a public comment then, so we can move on and then in recess.
So, when we look at the Constitution, we have to look at the whole document. This SUA is holding itself to the Brown Act, and we have to
this loud enough? Yeah. Can people hear me?
Yeah.
Hi.
Oh, is
Yes?
chat back?
Okay, cool.
Yo,
first, can I
chat's
get a
back.
water bottle? No, a water bottle. Thank you. Sorry, I'm a little parched out. It was hot today, so you know. Oh Lord, Jesus! Can you just take a deep breath? Another one here. Just give it some space. Give it some water.
No more comments. Sorry, go ahead.
Alright. Hello. My name is X. I use the they, he pronouns. I'm a fifth year. I've been here since 2018 when $30,000 was misused by SUA and the Big Five left the space. Today is the first time that Big Five all together is in the space. With that being said, SUA and the Big Five has had, thank you, a rocky relationship in the last 5 years. I will say that it has come to this. So I don't know if y'all saw earlier today, but Big Five actually made a statement. And it's posted on all of our Instagrams. We sent it out through our email. So if you didn't see it, it was basically condemning the racist burning of the Mexican flag that happened on September 17th, the attack on the AIRC Students Resource Center and its interns, as well as the blatant racism and colorism and machismo that has happened in the past 3 weeks. In general, we as a Big Five do not stand and never will stand for any of that behavior. Okay? We are here representing the ethnic orgs, the largest ethnic orgs that have been here since the inception of UCSC, which is in 1965. So you bet that we speak for the entirety, or not the entirety, but we speak for a very large portion for the ethnic communities on our campus. So when we said what we said, we meant that shit. We absolutely meant that shit. Okay. So no, I'm not gonna read the statement. Okay. Hold on, let me get my notes ready. As Daniel has said earlier, I'm going to read the Constitution again, and I will speak on behalf of Big Five for this. Any executive officer, which now includes Big Five, thank you, audio. Hold on. Let me read this. Any executive officer of the SUA may be subject to recall through either a 3/4 vote by the SUA in the presence of quorum, which we have, through a petition of at least 5% of the total, or through a petition of at least 5% of the total registered undergraduate students, where there are at least 10 student signatures from students affiliated with the college. We're not going to talk about the second part, but we have quorum, which means that as an executive officer and BSC president, on behalf of the Big Five, I reclaim my right to motion to remove Alfredo as SUA president. And it is immediately second from Daniel. Thank you.
Regarding public comments, there is no back and forth during public comments.
Okay, cool.
And
They have the right to make a motion.
excuse me, Garrett, you are now part of this meeting and you're out of order.
They have
I'm still talking. Excuse me, waterfall. I'm still talking. You will not interrupt me. Okay. So, we have the right to we have the right to make this motion. We are officers of this meeting now. I'm representing an ethnic org. If you will not abide by that, then why are we even here? So, I'm going to propose that if this whole meeting, which I get that people have public comment, a lot of things to say, we have said some things. A lot of people have given their testimonies, their personal experience with said individual. At 11 o'clock, 11:15, 11 o'clock? At 11 o'clock, Big Five will be leaving the space. We will be leaving the space, and this meeting will be adjourned. We all have collective power right now to, and I encourage folks on Zoom to do the same thing. We have collective power right now to get up and walk away. We can come back next week and do the same thing over and over and over. We have time. It does not have to happen today. If this is what the campus is asking for, it will happen, okay? As a student leader, a student organizer, nothing happens in one day, okay? It takes forever. Movements take forever. And this is just the start of one, okay? So, in 8 minutes, we will be leaving. Anybody else who has voting power, I urge you to leave too, so that this meeting is over and that next week we can re-adjourn, or Amanda or the officers can figure out a time to re-adjourn the entire SUA so that we can do the same process again or talk about things that actually matter, like SOFA. You guys like money, right? Y'all like money, right? Right? So, if y'all don't know about SOFA, it's basically a part of the SUA that allows student organizations the ability to basically grab funds and use that for different things that are happening on campus, or different events that happen on campus. So, if you would like to, say, throw social and have food, where are you going to pay to get that food? If you want merch, you can do that through SOFA. If you want to go to a conference, you can do that through SOFA. But none of the orgs that are here, or none of those orgs, and I'm talking like 30 plus that usually ask for SOFA, can ask for that money because we have another issue that we're dealing with here that should have already been solved. Okay? So there are other things that we need to do as a campus. There is more things that SUA has to offer the undergraduate student population than just dealing with one person and allowing everything else to stop. Nothing has to stop. Why are we letting this happen? How much time I got? Okay, I got 2 minutes. All right, I got it. Okay, so I got 5 minutes. So I'm speaking on behalf of Big Five. I'm reclaiming my right, and it is a right. I'm reclaiming my right and my power to remove Alfredo as SUA president. Can I get a second?
Second.
Again, we are in public comments.
Okay.
Engage in no.
It is.
Fredo, you have to listen to me.
Okay, so I'm going to bring up the Dean of Students. Garrett?
The Dean of Students is the Vice Chancellor and is out of order. Is Garrett? I'm gonna. Excuse me. Excuse me, Garrett, you are out of order. Garrett. Excuse me. The reason why Garrett is here, Garrett, you are out of order. Garrett, I am legally the chair of this. Garrett, I am legally the chair. Excuse me.
Garrett, you are out of order. Garrett, you are out of order. You know what? You've sexually assaulted me in the past. What? there, Garrett. Look, listen up, y'all. The majority of this body is everybody out! Everybody out! Everyone out! You're not listening.
Wait, I want to hear Garrett.
Did you hear that?